Morning. This Community Redevelopment Agency meeting is now called to order. I will hand it over to Board Member Maniscalco for the invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you very much. Today is June 11th. Yesterday marked the one-year anniversary of the passing of our colleague, council member and board member Gwendolyn Henderson. And it gives me, it's a great honor today to welcome a very close family friend. This is Superintendent Cleveland Sutton. Superintendent Sutton serves as pastor of Miracle Temple Institutional Church of God in Christ in Tampa, where he has faithfully led and served the community for many years. He is the superintendent of the West Central District of the Church of God in Christ and serves as chairman of the Tampa Bay Coalition of Clergy, bringing together faith leaders from across our regions to address issues affecting our communities. In addition to his ministry leadership, Superintendent Sutton has devoted more than 3 decades to public service and law enforcement and school safety. He serves as a lieutenant with the Hillsborough County Public School Security and Emergency Management Division and continues to serve our community through his commitment to public safety, youth development, and civic engagement. Known for his dedication to faith, family, and community, Superintendent Sutton has worked tirelessly to build bridges between government, law enforcement, schools, and the faith community. His leadership continues to make a positive impact throughout Tampa Bay area. Please join me in welcoming Superintendent Cleveland Sutton, who will now offer the invocation and words of expression. We will follow with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I would like to turn it back over to Superintendent Sutton for a few words. Please stand. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, everyone, the council, members of the community, and citizens of our great city. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come today with great hearts, acknowledging that every good and perfect gift comes from you. We thank you for the city of Tampa, for its rich diversity, its vibrant neighborhoods, its businesses, its schools, its houses of worship, and the people who call this city home. Lord, we ask your divine wisdom upon our mayor and the members of the Tampa City Council as they carry out the important work of governing and serving this community. Grant them the discernment in every decision, integrity in every action, and they represent. Tampa City Council serves as a legislative branch of city government, entrusted with enacting ordinances and resolutions that impact the daily lives of residents. Father, give them the courage to do what is right, even when it's difficult. Help them to seek justice, promote peace, and work for the common good. May their discussions be respectful, their deliberations productive, and their outcomes beneficial to all. We pray for all our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, healthcare workers, educators, military personnel, and all those who serve our community. Protect them and strengthen them in their assignments. We pray for families throughout Tampa, heal broken hearts, comfort those who are grieving, provide those in need, and bring hope to those facing uncertainty. Let this city continue to be a place of opportunity, compassion, and prosperity. Lord, as this meeting proceeds, may all that is said and done reflect wisdom, accountability, and sincere to improve desire to the quality of life for every resident. And now, according to your word, we trust you and with all our hearts and acknowledge you in all our ways, believing that you will direct our paths. In the mighty and master's name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Superintendent, yes, sir.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Good morning to the City Council, family and friends, and citizens of Tampa. Today we pause to remember Councilwoman Gwen Henderson as the first anniversary of her passing. We do so filled with gratitude, reflection, and hope. There are some individuals whose influence extends far beyond their years of service. Councilwoman Henderson was one of those individuals. She was more than a public servant. She was a voice for the people, an advocate for the community, a bridge between government and those she was called to serve. To the Henderson family, please know that your loved one has not been forgotten. The greatest testimony of a life well lived is not found in titles or held offices occupied, but it lives in lives touched and differences made. Her legacy continues to live on through the countless people she encouraged, empowered, and inspired. While grief may still visit your hearts, May you find comfort in knowing that her work continues to bear fruit throughout this city. To our community, let us remember that leadership is not measured merely by position, but by service. Councilwoman Henderson has demonstrated what it means to care deeply about people and to stand for causes greater than oneself. The best way we can honor her memory is to continue building the kind of community she envisioned, one marked by unity, opportunity, compassion, and justice for all. And to all our elected officials and public servants, her life reminds us that public office is a sacred trust. Every vote cast, every policy considered, every decision made impacts real people, real families. Councilwoman Henderson's example challenges us to lead with integrity, listen with humility, and serve with purpose. As the scripture reminds us in Galatians 6 and 9, he said, "Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not." Today we celebrate a life of well-doing. We celebrate a woman who ran the race, served her city, and left her mark on Tampa. Though her voice may be silent, her influence still speaks. May God continue to bless the Henderson family, guide this council, and strengthen our community as we carry forward the legacy of service, commitment, and love that Councilwoman Gwen Henderson so beautifully exemplified. Thank you, and may God bless the city of Tampa. Amen.
Do you have any of our board members that wish to say anything? Okay, thank you, Pastor Sutton. Shirley, will you give us a roll call, please?
Miranda? Here. Maniscalco? Here. Hurtak? Here. Clendenin? Here. Carlson? Here. Viera? Here. Young?
Here.
We have physical quorum.
May I just say something quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Just so the public knows, we had a small, we all had a small gathering with Councilmember Henderson's family yesterday, and so, you know, we paid respect to her yesterday.
Yes, thank you for that, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I will hand it to Director McCray for our agenda review.
Good morning, members of the board. Cedric McCray, Tampa CRA Director. There are two items as we set the agenda this morning. The first one is we received a memo from the chair's office to add back to today's agenda the staff report related to special requests, special projects, and funding requests. And for that discussion, I believe it may be item number 4 on your agenda. And that is kind of dovetails from the workshop that we held on March 6th and community engagement sessions on April 22nd, as well as June 4th. The second item would be, we have a walk-on item related to urban reworks at 2914 North Nebraska Avenue. As you remember, last year in July, you actually approved the application that was submitted for, and we made, the request was at $3.5 million, the direction of the board. We've had continuous conversations with the property owner and the representatives from Urban Reworks, and we are ready to bring that forward for approval.
Okay. Board Member Hurtak?
Where are we putting that on the agenda?
Required approval?
Where are we putting that on the agenda? If
It
we're
will be
adding
under
it?
the required approvals.
Okay.
Yes.
So move to add it to the required approvals portion of the agenda.
Motion from Board Member Hurtak, second from Board Member Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Oh, Board Member Clendenin?
Yeah, I would motion to receive and file the written report from D. Reed on item number 4.
Motion from Board Member Clendenin, second from Board Member Maniscalco. All in favor? We have a discussion. Board Member Hurtak?
Yes. So you don't want to talk about this?
Well, I mean, didn't we kind of beat that dead horse already? In the work?
Well, first of all, yeah, but I mean, we might have some members of the public here to talk about it today. Just
Okay.
saying.
Well, I guess we can receive and file it and still talk about it if we want to.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Okay.
Any other? No? Okay, so we had a motion from Board Member Clendenin and a second from Board Member Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so four received and filed.
Madam Chair.
Board Member Clendenin?
Also, on June 4th, you all received a memo from my office requesting to continue item number 9 to June 11th, 2026, CRA meeting. I'm sorry, to July 23rd, 2026.
Madam Chair,
Board Member,
I'm not opposed to that. However, if you want to go the right way, we should go to after the public votes on whether or not they want to lower the ad valorem tax. No sense in kick this can down the road, because the road's going to end, and we're not going to have anything to say. So my opinion is to have it anytime after the vote is taken on whatever date it is in November. If not, we're just fooling ourselves.
Let me address that since it's my motion.
hold on, I want to get to Board Member Hurtak and Board Member Carlson.
Yeah, but since it's my motion, so let me
Oh, go ahead,
explain the reason behind it. The reason behind next month is it's not just about the Tallahassee and ad valorem. It is also concerning, the negotiations behind the scenes is still not completed. So the Raise organization, the county and the city, and also our CRA attorney, I believe, has been part of this discussion. And there may be opportunity to do this outside of what the existing agreements are and what the existing CRA is. So until we get that information, and you may very well be right, July, but we still have opportunity to continue it at that point too. But we can keep it as a placesaver on the July agenda.
Board Member Hurtak?
So, I mean, I've heard nothing about this. As a CRA board, they should be talking to every single one of us. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's not appropriate that you have that information and the rest of us do not. So, let me finish, please. It's not okay. It just simply isn't. I agree with Board Member Miranda in that there's no point in talking about this now because of November. If they want to have this open discussion, they should have come to all of us and not just to you. I'm just saying, whether it be staff, whether it be the Raise. I have not heard from either party. I can't speak to the rest of you. It doesn't sound like you have. So I agree with Councilman Miranda. It's fine to move it to July, but I don't see why. I personally would prefer to wait until November. And if something happens before that, then we can put it on an agenda.
Let me channel my inner Hurtak. If they didn't come to me, I went to them. And so, I mean, because the phones work both ways. And the agenda item was posted, and I was concerned because of information that, I mean, I pay attention to what's happening as well. I do my research, and I also serve on the Tampa Sports Authority. So I'm involved in a lot of conversations. So I picked up the phone and called them. I said, where are we on negotiations? They said they're still ongoing. So what is the point of having this discussion today if they're still negotiating?
Well, because after our meeting, Ken Babby came out the next day and said, negotiations on the economics of it are not going forward. So I just have to believe what was put into the press. And he made it very clear that the economics of it are not going to be reviewed. And if he's changed his mind, he hasn't shared it with any of us.
But Board Member Hurtak, even just as soon as last night, they held a meeting in the CRA, in the Drew Park CRA. So you can see it's self-evident that this is still ongoing. Again, it's do no harm. We can continue this for 1 month, and you know what? If it's not ripe at that point, we can entertain a motion from you to continue it another month if we have to.
Board Member Carlson?
I agree with my colleagues. I think we should just take this off the agenda because what happens is we, as a CRA board, only meet once a month, and it sets the expectation of the media and the public that we're going to discuss this. And from everything I hear, they're not going to be ready in a month from now either. I would rather, when they're ready, that they formally request to the board to get on the agenda, and then we'll add them to the agenda at that time. But I don't think they're going to be ready, especially based on some of the conversations last night. I mean, one of the things they're talking about is creating a home rule TIF. That's going to take potentially months to do. And with that in mind, also similar to what was mentioned a minute ago, you know, the community, there was another poll out yesterday that said the community thinks this should go on the ballot. I think we ought to start the conversation to put it as a non-binding question on the ballot, because I think the deadline is August 10th. Right. And maybe city council has to do this instead of the CRA board. But if it's going to take probably until November or after to do this anyway. So we've got the issue of the governor's tax reduction that would affect this. We've also got the bucks going parallel, and the timeline on this is going to get extended. And so why not? The other thing is that The mayor's office, I've said this before, the mayor's office legally, I can ask Cliff at the end, but my legal analysis with my attorney says that the mayor's office broke the contracts, the interlocal agreement, the services agreement, and potentially 163 by negotiating on our behalf. We were not involved at all. This is a separate legal entity. I can make a motion at the end, but I think we ought to formally vote to ask the mayor's office to not be involved in this and ask the Rays to negotiate directly with us. That's my comments. Thank you.
Board Member Vieira and then Miranda.
Thank you,
I
Madam.
just want to make sure.
Hold on. Board Member Vieira
go
and then
on.
Miranda.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I mean, I want to be clear on what we're voting on. We're voting on something that's very narrowly tailored, which simply says that we're going to allow ourselves to have more time. By pushing it towards July, that doesn't preclude us to pushing it towards August, September, October, November. Nobody suffers any prejudice of any kind. There's no detriment suffered by anybody on this. So again, I think this is the biggest decision that we are going to make as elected officials. This is huge, no matter how you see it. Whether you think it's a good deal, a bad deal, whether you're philosophically opposed to it, this is the biggest decision we're going to make. And all the maker of this motion says is we need more time. And whether more time is August, whether more time is September, we begin that acknowledgement that we need more time by moving it to August. I think if we take it off the agenda, then we're going to have a big discussion on when to put it back on the agenda. We should just move it to August and then assess, because look, the way things are moving on this, 1 week is the equivalent politically of 1 year. Things are moving very fast, very little time, a lot of substance, including with the prospective tax changes in Florida. By giving ourselves more time and getting that process, we I think continue to be good stewards on this issue. So again, having more time with a date certain is totally reasonable. I strongly support that.
Board Member Miranda.
I can only say this. I remember the gentleman from the Rays being here, by the way. He's always treated us, to my knowledge, very well and very respectful of us, and we respectful of him. And I asked him the question, is that your final thing you can do? He said, I can't do any better than what we have today, right there sitting on this side. So, I mean, I'm not trying to change all the rules, but to do this is like saying, how many times am I going to listen to this? The public, whether we like it or not, or the public likes it or not, or the system likes it or not, the governor and the legislature made some rules and regulations that we're going to have to follow. And in following those rules, all I'm saying is put it until you know what you're dealing with. We don't know what we're dealing with. We don't know if that tax cut is going to be 35 million, 45 million, 100 million, whatever it is. No one's told us. Maybe the administration knows, but we don't know, unless somebody else knows. I don't know. And the second year is going to be more than that. So how can we discuss anything until that vote is taken? So what I'm saying, no matter where you move it to, it doesn't mean anything for the value. So I'm saying, let's not waste time. Let's put it after the ballot is taken. You can do it a week after. We can do that with 10 days notice. Now, don't say we can't. So we can do all those things. So what I'm saying, what's the danger? They told us they had a June 1st deadline. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. But they didn't say what year. So, because it passed June the 1st and there was no deadline. So, I mean, I learned this in the housing projects. Say things directly so we understand what you want to do tomorrow. And we haven't done that at all.
Board Member Hertag.
And respectfully, Board Member Vieira, I disagree with you, because if we move it to next month, then people come out then. And then they come out the next month and the next month. And then eventually people stop coming. And that is not what I want. I want citizenry engaged in this process. To me, that's the most important part. I believe that if we can keep continuing it, we are exhausting the public. So I do not agree. I will not vote for this. I will vote to take it off the agenda instead.
Board Member Clendenin and then Carlson.
Respectfully, a couple of different items. One, the Councilman Miranda, this body has never heard this issue. This will be the first time this body has heard this issue. Second, the June 1st deadline was concerning meeting the non-binding MOU so that the Rays organization could get the allocations, which they successfully did from Tallahassee in the special session budget item. So that's moved. On the other thing, I will defer to Councilman Miranda, and maybe he has information that I don't, since he's been on council for a while, that Has there ever been a time that a council member has requested to continue an item that this board hasn't given them that respect?
For my memory, I don't remember any at all, forward or backwards or nothing. I'm sure you can continue anything that this board members that I've served in the past have continued without my knowledge or me forgotten. I don't keep in mind what we continue. I keep in mind what we do or we do not do for the public. Changing a vote on this council does not hurt the public one way or the other.
Well, and I think that's my point, is that this is, and Councilman Vera hit on this, this is a do no harm. And again, I think this is a congenial body that respects each other, and just like in new business, when we give new business, we acknowledge folks and we give them that deference. The substance of this discussion is not germane to what we're doing right now. So many of the points that my fellow council members have made today are about the issue itself, which would be ripe for discussion when this actually comes rightfully before the body. This morning, this is just a request to continue this item for 1 month. And I think that's something that we all provide deference to each other on those types of issues.
Board Member Carlson?
Yeah, but the problem, as I mentioned, Councilmember, Board Member Hurtak also mentioned, is that it sets the expectation for the media and the public that we're going to be discussing it in July. And from everything I understand, it looks like it's going to be delayed beyond that. And so why set the expectation and have us all have to prepare for it, and then have the public show up and fans show up and have lots of public comment about when we're probably not going to discuss it. The other thing I want to say is similar to what Board Member Miranda said, is that I've had a lot of conversations with Ken Babby, the CEO, and also some with Patrick Zalewski, and all of those conversations have been fantastic. They've been friendly, cordial, despite what some of the fans try to circulate. Those conversations have been fantastic. For some reason, there's dirty politics happening out around this, and some of the people involved in it are connected to the current administration. They're also connected to the former administration and a mayoral candidate. And this is a straightforward negotiation contract between the CRA and the Rays, the county and the Rays, and the city and the Rays. So there are 4 parties. In any kind of negotiation, there should be a back and forth. But I would ask that everybody stop the dirty politics, stop stirring up all kinds of trouble. All we want to do is have a legitimate conversation. Every conversation I've had with Mr. Babby and Mr. Zalewski they've been very cordial and professional, and I think they are in earnest trying to work with the community. They met with Drew Park last night. But with all this dirty politics going on behind the scenes, it's going to kill the deal. And so I would just ask everybody, set aside your political ambitions, set aside your political grievances. If you want to get a deal done, let us have a conversation. And with the CRA board, it needs to be directly with the CRA board, because the mayor legally is not involved in the CRA.
Board Member Maniscalco?
Thank you very much. So I'd seen, I think it was in the Times, that the county is looking at, I don't know when they're discussing it, but the impact of what the property tax next week. So if we were to continue this to July 23rd, and anything can happen in the next 30-something days, would you then be open to continuing this even further? I mean, putting it as a placeholder, that's fine, but you did send a memo a week ago saying that you wanted to continue this. You gave a heads up, the media got a hold of it, and that's why we don't have a bunch of folks out here. I mean, I'm trying to look at both points. Take it off the agenda. If we take it off the agenda, when can it be put back on the agenda? At that next July 23rd meeting? So when is the meeting in August? I mean, within 3 weeks or so. So if you don't do July 23rd, it would be the CRA meeting of, do we even have an August meeting? Because I know
Yes.
we do? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Because I know we have
It
League of
is,
Cities.
August 20th.
What would the difference be? Let's say we take it off the agenda, but we see what happens at the county, we see what other information comes up, because stuff pops up every day. What would be the harm in then on July 23rd, if you wanted to make a motion to put this on the August agenda? I mean, does it really make a difference? Because if we're open to continuing it in July if we need to or don't need to. What's the harm? It's summertime.
I think that's my point, is we could continue this July, and then if it's not right by July, we continue to August. And there's no harm. There literally could be a 2-second discussion.
But I'm just saying, if we were to take it off the agenda today, and then in July 23rd, we say, hey, look, things have changed, things have gone this way or that, we're going to put it on the August one.
So I want, because we've done about 2 rounds of conversation. So we have a motion right now to continue this to July 23rd. Do we have a second? Who's, we had a second from Louis Vieira. Shalene, can you do a roll call vote, please?
You're not going to have further discussion.
Well, we had the motion and the second, and we did discussion.
That's right.
Hurtak,
No.
Vieira,
Yes.
Carlson, Miranda,
No.
Maniscalco,
No.
Clendenin,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Motion fails with Hurtak, Carlson, Miranda, and Maniscalco voting no.
Okay, so, Board Member Hurtak.
So I was gonna say that this is what I had to go over again this week. This is all my documentation that I had to research, or that I had to renew, re-go over, make sure I had my points, because I didn't know today if we were gonna have this discussion. And so it's not do no harm. I basically, and I hate to say I wasted 3 hours, but I wasted 3 hours preparing for this when it could have gone either way. So what I do believe is that Board Member Maniscalco is correct. If things change, there's nothing to say you can't put it back on the August agenda. There's nothing to say you can't do that. You can do a motion just like you did. It can get on the August agenda if there's something to talk about. But I don't want to continue to prepare month after month, reminding myself what I needed to say every single month. I don't want the public to keep having to take time off of work to come out here to speak. So my motion is to take this off the agenda until it's time that it's ready to come back on.
Second.
So we have a motion from Board Member Hurtak to take item number 9 off of the agenda. Second from Board Member Maniscalco.
Can I
Discussion,
just
Board Member.
comment real fast? And
Carlson.
my vote is not against the raise. I think that we definitely will have them, but it's the same thing that Board Member Hurtak said. I don't think it's fair to the public, the media, and us. I also had to prepare, and so it's just a timing issue.
Councilman Vieira and then Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes, ma'am. First off,
Board Member.
Madam Chair, I want to say good determination there, Justice Jackson, who you're wrong. Be very proud of that. So, but no, again, I'm going to vote against this because I do believe that we need to have a date certain, whether it's July, whether it's August, because then it's going to be potentially a struggle to have it put back on the agenda. We're taking it off by keeping it on, whether it's July, whether it's August. Then there's going to be potentially, I'm not forecasting this, but there could be potentially a struggle just to put it back on the agenda. And I think that having it there, and where we could, as reasonable people, if we foresee, particularly the maker of the motion, the original motion, Board Member Clendenin, if he sees that just cause would exist to continue this to August, then reasonableness would dictate that would happen. So again, I will be voting against this. Thank you.
Board Member Maniscalco.
But in the meantime, the mayor presents her budget next month. The county is having their discussion on what the impact of the property tax ballot legislation or decision could be. And we don't know, and I haven't heard anything from our CFO. Has the city looked at the numbers of how this could impact the city? And I'm talking about, what's going to be on the November 3rd ballot in regards to the property tax. So, summertime is generally quiet, meaning, we're not here after the end of June. We come back in the middle of July. The mayor comes with a budget soon after, and then we'll see. I mean, at the July CRA, we'll have, I think, a little bit more information, and then we can make a decision there of how we move forward. If it's August or September, whatever, the opportunity is there. Thanks.
Board Member Miranda and then
No,
Clendenin.
I'm just going to say this. You don't have an election until you have an election day. Why? Because people can't run for office. You understand what they're saying, what they do, and you either vote for the one you think is best qualified. So it's the same thing here. We don't know what's going to happen. So we don't have no candidates running until after that vote is taken, whether you're going to do something with the ad valorem tax or not. So how can I vote on something that I don't know what's going to happen? That's the text of it, plain and simple.
Board Member Clendenin.
I'd like to introduce a substitute motion. Rather than remove this from the agenda, I would like to continue to August 20th, 2026, and that should satisfy Councilman Maniscalco's concern with all these things.
That's fair because, it's more than 2 months and everything that I've said, let the county do their due diligence with the numbers, let us with our CFO and our finance folks, and then we'll see. August may not, this might happen again in August, but August is fair. I think, more than 2 months.
Thank you.
Board Member Hurtak.
Thank you. I don't oppose moving it forward to August if we talk about it in July. But I also know that we don't make this agenda, the staff does. So we could put things on the agenda, it doesn't have to come from us. Staff puts stuff on the agenda all the time and doesn't ask us. So that's their job. So I don't think that if there's something to talk about, that it couldn't get on the agenda. So, I'm not gonna vote for the August because I really just believe we bring it back when we need to talk about it and wherever that lands. Because again, I don't want to end up in August with me having to do all this prep and us just kicking it down the road. So that's what I have to.
Board Member Carlson. Y'all are killing me.
What'd you say?
Go ahead.
I would rather pull it off the agenda altogether and then put it back on in July. If it's in August, then we have a chance to discuss it in July, but at least the problem of people showing up in July isn't going to happen and we have a chance to move it. The other thing I want to mention is I mentioned dirty politics a minute ago. 3 of the Sports Authority members got a threatening letter from a lawyer yesterday, and we don't know that came from the Rays. But if we find out that it was, I'm going to fight to keep it off the agenda because that is not the kind of dirty politics the public wants.
Thank you. Okay, so we had a motion and a second to take it off the agenda. Then we had a substitute motion from Board Member Clendenin, seconded by Board Member Vieira. For the August meeting, yes, we had a substitute motion by Board Member Clendenin to put on to the August 20th, 2026 agenda.
All those in favor?
I can only say this.
We're gonna do a roll. We'll do
It does
discussion, then
not
we'll do a roll
change.
call.
If you were gonna buy a house in November and you're making $10,000 a month, and you know that possibility you're gonna be making $8,500 a month and you can't pay for the house, you still gonna buy the house? Absolutely not. So why not wait till the election is held in November and put it on the ballot so we know where we're at? We don't know what's going on. We don't know if we're gonna have a ad valorem tax decrease by 5% or 10% or 20%. Or I guarantee it's gonna be over $35–40 million the first year. That's my calculation, but I'm not a genius in math. I just know it better than most.
Okay.
Remember what I said, 35 to 45, the first year.
Okay, Clerk, can you, remind us what we're voting on, and then can we do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. So just to confirm, this is the continuance of item 9 to August 20th.
Okay.
Vera?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Miranda?
No.
Maniscalco?
Yes, because I want to wait and see what comes out of the county and then what other developments there are from now till then, because this could very well be continued even further. There's a lot of information out there, and I want to hear it, so that's a yes.
Hurtak?
No, because we can put it back on the agenda in July if we need to.
Clendenin?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Motion carries with Miranda and Hurtak voting no.
So easy. Goodness gracious. Okay, I think, Director McCray, we're back to you? No.
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, yes. All right, we have a motion by Board Member Hurtak to approve the agenda, second from Board Member Vieira. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. All righty. We are to public comment. Attorney Shepherd, could you please give us our rules for public comments?
Yes, ma'am. Members of the public are allowed a reasonable opportunity, excuse me, at the beginning of the CRA meeting to address any item on the agenda before the CRA takes official action on an item. However, a 3-minute time limit applies to all speakers providing public comment unless such time frame is modified by a vote of the CRA board. Speakers and members of the public are also reminded that they are to refrain from disruptive behavior, including making vulgar or threatening remarks, or making or causing disruptive noises or sounds, or displaying signs or graphics. Speakers are also reminded to refrain from launching personal attacks. The chair will rule out of order any person who speaks without being recognized or attempts to address the CRA from outside the speaker area at the podium. Persons failing to comply with the CRA's rules may be ruled out of order and, at the discretion of the chair, may be removed from the chambers for the remainder of that day's CRA meeting. Finally, the CRA board members are reminded that they should refrain from engaging in a speaker under public comment. The City Council rules, as revised June 6, 2024, are now in effect for the CRA board unless otherwise exempted or overridden by CRA board bylaws.
Thank you, Attorney Shepard. If you wish to speak to public comment, please line up against the wall. We have 2 speakers that are registered to speak online, so we will start with them, and then we will go to those that want to speak. So are they on? Mr. Michael Randolph, are you on? You are you have to unmute yourself. There we are.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph. I want to start off first by recognizing Councilwoman Henderson and all the work that she did. As a matter of fact, the conversation we're going to have today is because of her. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be talking about the Technology Center. I do want to give an update on the Technology Center related to the ROI and the impact on the community. Our model delivers one of the strongest returns on investment in the region. Every $1 investment generates $10 to $19 in long-term social impact value. And at $256,000 investment, and that's a startup cost, our center produces anywhere from $2.8 million to $4 million in measurable community impact, driven by higher employment, new business creation, increased household income, and reduced crime, and strong tax revenue. Each funding stream plays a critical role in producing that impact, creating a diverse model that multiplies every year into lasting economic mobility and community transformation. Our operation operates at 1/3 the cost because our artificial intelligence will operate 65% of the business, reducing human personnel. Some of the sources of income related to our project. The tech company, we're looking at $65,000. The programs will be AI, digital literacy, certification, and workforce. The estimated ROI is anywhere from $780,000 to $1 million for financial institutions, $90,000. Programs include CRA investment, financial literacy, small business support. The ROI is anywhere from $1 million to $1.9 million. Next is money coming from grants and foundations and corporations, which will be $70,000. The programs will be equity, digital equity, entrepreneurship, workforce development. The estimated the estimated ROI is anywhere from $840,000 to $1 million. Clearly, we're changing the narrative, and I do want to recognize Councilwoman Henderson for all that she does. And guess what, Councilwoman? Your dream lives on in West Tampa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph. We have one more online speaker.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please start with your name. You have 3 minutes.
This is Stephanie Pointer. I am, first of all, I'd like to remind everybody that the Budget Committee, the Citizens Budget Committee has asked Council and the CRA Board to put the raise question before the voters. It should not be made by you guys because of the volatility of the situation. But I'd like to speak this morning about boards and committees and the lack of consistency that we have with that. We had a VRB meeting canceled this month because we did not have a quorum. We currently have little to no mechanisms to fire, quote unquote, move up, fire the people who are not doing their jobs. If people aren't showing up, then city council needs to have a way to let those folks go and put other people who actually want to help our community in the positions. There needs to be a staff member assigned to these different committees. I counted this morning, we've had 41 posts on Facebook from the city of Tampa. Since June 1st, we've had another 12 posts on Nextdoor since the first of the month. And in that period of time, not one post about any opportunities for people to volunteer for these committees on the city, for the city of Tampa. That is ridiculous. We have, the boards need to be consistent across the board. 9 would be ideal, 2 for the mayor and 1 for each council member. And confirmations, they should be renewed every 1 to 2 years. That doesn't mean that somebody can't be renewed for 15 years if you want to, but we just need to take that into consideration. And I guess that's about it for this week, but I can't understand why we can't find anything. When I found out that the VRB needed an additional member, I had to call somebody in the clerk's office or contact the clerk's office to find out where somebody would apply if they want the position. That is absolutely ridiculous. It should be consistent, and it should be constant, and it should be available to the community if you expect them to actually volunteer. It shouldn't be a hidden process that nobody can find out about until the last minute when it goes on your agenda. Have a good day.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please. Our next speaker. In person, next speaker in person. Also, if you can, please make sure that your cell phones are silenced. Please start with your name. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Council. Julie McGill. I'm coming to you today with a sad story. Heartbreaking, really. I provided you copies of emails between me, Deborah Radke, and Mayor Castor. What we're talking about today is the city of Tampa tore down a 99-year-old lady's house. This house was built in 1930, so it should have gone through historical review. But magically, that happened like one day. And as a contractor, we know we can't put a pergola up in a historical house without it taking weeks. There was a friend of mine that was over there working on the house. After this 99-year-old lady fell, she had to go to rehab. So while she was in rehab, a worker was working on her house. He was basically going to replace flooring, maybe some paneling, get the house nice for her to move back in. And while he was there, code enforcement slapped a violation on the door. At the same time, the city slapped a vacate order on the door. So I called the city, I'm wondering why. Well, they said accumulations in the yard. Well, this was the flooring he had taken out and intended to put on a dump trailer and take away. That code violation went away. The vacate order did not. I met them out there, and as a contractor, I walked the house, and I said, look, this isn't worse than any other house in this area that investors come in and rehab. So they said, yeah, there's options, and have them on video, and they were aware that they were being videoed. In the meantime, there was negotiations back and forth. The old lady couldn't come up with funding to finish some of the items that they wanted finished that they said were dangerous, which in my opinion were not. I don't have time to go into that. But what it boils down to is she was in rehab when they slapped the notice to vacate on the door, so she never saw that. Now the city's gonna argue that they did all the noticing correctly. However, with the emails between me and the city explaining that she had her belongings in there, including her husband's and her son's ashes, okay? Antiques, clothing, dishes. I expressly told them, please, before you demo this house, let's negotiate this. I tried to sell it for her, I couldn't do that. She has an $80,000 reverse mortgage on it. It boils down to the fact that I got a call last week from the same worker that was there, and he says, the house is gone. I'm like, what? The house is gone. So she's thinking she's gonna move back into her house. Her family hasn't even told her because she's 99 years old. They're afraid it's going to really wreck her emotionally. So common sense versus compassion. I begged for another couple of months. They couldn't give it to us for this 99-year-old woman. I mean, there's a difference between a house that needs to be repaired and torn down. I think this was fast-tracked. I can't really express why the city would do this to her. And we need to think desperately about the next time this happens to an older person that might be not home when they put a vacate order on their home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Uhuru Mentiznot. Uhuru means freedom in Swahili, and we as African people should always be thinking about our freedom, and we should never let anyone outsmart us. City Council outsmart us every day. Here's our own rules of procedure manual. But if you notice on this manual, it don't have the reading of the rules of decorum, because they know the rules of decorum is illegal and unconstitutional. They already know that. So they won't put it in writing, but on their rules of procedure manual, it said shall, must be done in this order. Hey, can y'all start my time over or something? There's a lot of talking going on in this area. Can't even concentrate. If they can give me some more time, I'd appreciate it.
Please start his time over, please.
But that's how they outsmart African people. And they use the rules of decorum, they weaponize it in a certain way, they use it selectively against me and other individuals to put you in jail, to incarcerate you, and do other things that's negative, that's unconstitutional, that's illegal, that's undemocratic. The fact of the matter is, when we talk about this city council and when we talk about African people, the Jackson House is a good example of that. They do nothing for us, absolutely, positively nothing. City been here since 1855. We ain't got nothing out of it. We've been 35% of the population. We ain't got nothing out of it. We're 26% of the population. We get nothing out of it. And they keep black people talking like we're dummies, like we drunk and high all the time. They in here this morning talking about Gwen Henderson. Gwen Henderson, Perry Harvey, Gwen Miller, and all the rest of them ain't did nothing for African people. And they can't show it to you in paper. They can't say, hey, you've had an increase in this, or a decrease in crime, or a decrease in illiteracy or anything. They can't show you nothing on paper. But they want African people to come here and sing and dance and shuck and weave and bow our heads and pray to fake gods and pray to a God that's a man instead of a God that's a woman. They want us to do all kinds of stupidness, celebrate Juneteenth and celebrate Martin Luther King and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and stupidness that makes absolutely positively no sense. None. We want some results from this city. We're 26% of this population. We want 26% of this budget retroactively to 1855. Go and figure that out. We want our representatives to talk about reparations, $3 million per African man, woman, and child that resides in this city. They're here talking about the Rays and the Buccaneers and other stuff. And go through our community and see what it looked like. It looks like the Jackson House. Y'all got tricks for African people. And the tricks causes pain and suffering. Let me tell you, the man right here that arrested me, they got a rules of decorum that say you can't call someone by name. The man right there, the man or the woman, whatsoever you want to call himself, he has the right to do so, who had me arrested, spent 6 days in jail, incarcerated, no food. Spent another 6 days with an IV stuck in my arm, because that's the pain and suffering, the humiliation and the hate that white folks got for African people. We're not going to stand for this. And I want to send a shout out to Carmelo Anthony, and it shows the same thing as him. White people approach you because they think they can approach you when they have no probable cause. He shouldn't have been approaching that young man in the first place. Now he's doing 35 years in prison because of white folks like you, racist piece of...
Thank you very much. I just want to remind the audience, we can hear everything up here, so if you all could please keep your comments to yourself. Silence your cell phones because we can also hear that as well. Next speaker, please start with your name. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Mastro-Totaro. I'm here today to understand, trying to understand how land is being obtained how land is getting taken from people, how land that is protected is allowed to be taken. Hazel Henderson, that was so wrong. So wrong, 99 years old. Just, come on, the Cologne Cemetery, how were they able to obtain that? That's sacred grounds, that's a cemetery. I mean, this is, where's the morals? Where's the care? Now this is gonna be a domino effect, that they're gonna take all these properties like this? I'm gonna start with mine, because I'm a big advocate, because not one thing has been done for me. I've been told by someone that we're sorry, we're gonna learn from that mistake, and we're for future not gonna do that project like that again. We learned from what we did there, and we're for futures, we're not gonna do it again. So they uprooted 23 acres of protected mangroves wetland. If you wanna see, this is what they took. What does that look like to you? And it's in a yellow lined area. You know what a yellow lined land is? Historic. You cannot touch it. You have to be approved. You cannot. This is a historic road, Prescott. You see this? That's my house, right there. Wetlands, that's what it was. My house is right here. This right here, they took for apartments. They projected to the city this. Does that look like this with blocking 2 chambers? This is all cement. What happens when you build cement? You can't get water around it. It goes somewhere else. Where's it going? To me. To me and our neighbors. Look what they wrote. The system is undersized, design defect, engineers are liable. Who's gonna put this on? They rerouted the water in 2020 to come right to my house. Now I'm not even allowed to be even built. Everybody around me, what is that gonna do? Flood me. This was Adelia. This was Debbie. This was Helene, 6.77 feet of wastewater and surge. And these were just water. So you can't just say surge. And look, 15 minutes of rain, 15 minutes of rain, that's what happened to my house just last week.
Thank you, Michelle.
There's another thing. This is a park and recreation person. Why is he out on West Shore
Okay, thank you.
with his truck? What is he doing in that ground?
Next speaker, please. You have 3 minutes. Next speaker, 3 minutes. Start with your name.
Please diligently do something.
Good morning. Excuse me. I'm Maritza Astrakiza. I am the chair of Drew Park CRA, CAC actually. CRA pretty good, but CAC. And we met yesterday with Ken Babby, who gave us a presentation. And we do have a commitment for him to come at least one more time. What we found out is that there's a lot we don't know. And we found out that there's a lot of things changing every day. There's some notes, and I'm going to go fast because, of course, I only have 2.5 minutes left. We want to be protected from displacement. We want to make sure that there's no eminent domain. And don't say, oh, it's not going to happen. The airport already took 30% of ours. Those businesses were, many of them, never able to reopen. Some went out of state, out of county, and it affected the existing businesses because we are feeders to each other, and they lost a lot of clientele. Some of those had to actually close on the remaining part. So yeah, it does happen. I also did find out that there's not going to be any housing, affordable housing in the project. Affordable housing is extremely important. In fact, you guys gave us all the mandates of 30%. Yet the housing's not going there. When they were at the raise, it was 1,200 units that were asked in their agreement, and whatever is coming in here is going somewhere else. Your duty is to protect CRA. Drew Park is the primary affected here. We need you guys to step up. You're not at the table. I keep hearing county and city. City is contracted. You guys are the ones that need to protect us. So if you're not being asked at the table, figure it out and protect us. And I'm telling you again, we, Drew Park, is the main problem, not the main problem, gosh, yeah, for somebody else, we're the main problem. But we are the main and mostly directly affected CRA. Watch out for us. Don't touch our TIF. And anything that ends at 2034, hopefully, even if it's a penny, does not go to the project. Why? Because this will prevent slow walking projects. It helps prevent that, which we know happens. We actually need to be extended because we're going to need more money with everything else that we have. We need seats at the table. This home rule, if they get any TIF, 70% goes to us, 30% goes to them. They are in Drew Park right now. They are part of our CRA. I'm not saying I'm against or for it, but we are advocates for the Drew Park CRA. No disbandment of the CRA, of our Drew Park CRA no, we continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, start with your name. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Melanie Alvarez, and I am here to speak on agenda number 9. I know that it's been moved, but since I did prepare, like Councilwoman Hayek, I'd like to be heard on it, if that's okay. So, really, I think the most critical thing for this board to understand, I'm a concerned citizen. I'm a member of the Americans for Prosperity community, and we're looking at this through the lens of consideration that every dollar spent on this project through the CRA is a dollar that can't be used on infrastructure. And so those investments in the community are really critical at a time when things like public safety and tax relief are on the table. And so while this memorandum of understanding is unbinding at this time, it does lay the groundwork for a project that could potentially expose Tampa taxpayers to significant financial risk, long-term debt obligations, and we're in a time period where many families right now are struggling to afford everyday life. We've heard several people today having concerns of this nature right here in the community, and so I think with these rising costs, we really need to be especially cautious about committing public resources to public resources to private development projects. Studies from economists across the political spectrum, this is not a blue or red issue. These studies have shown that publicly funded stadium projects rarely deliver economic returns that are promised, and it exposes taxpayers to financial risk in a public-private partnership. It really is essential that the expected return on investment is clearly defined and negotiations are transparent and not happening behind closed doors, that there's accountability measures in place should the return investment not happen the way that the raise propose it will. And so in this case, significant questions still remain unanswered, and I think you guys have covered that in your earlier discussion. There's no finalized site plans for the proposed mixed-use development that they're talking about, which is a real concern. There's limited details regarding the oversight and performance measures. How are we going to ensure that public dollars are not being used for private development? And there's a real lack of clarity about how public spending would be tracked and evaluated over time. I really urge the members of the CRA to carefully weigh the costs and risks against the potential benefits and to vote no on committing public dollars to this project. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next speakers, you have 3 minutes. Please start with your name.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ron Weaver. I think this morning, perhaps, thank you for continuing this, to keep listening and to keep working, to keep trying to make sure that we don't lose these 11,900 permanent jobs that we don't have any other way of replacing. If AI is replacing 15% of all our jobs, these 11,900 jobs and 39,000 construction jobs. We have no other way of getting in this community except this. If you're afraid of property tax, the property taxes may not go down. It takes a 60% vote. And even if they go down, essential services will require substitute sales taxes. And guess what? The CIT is 1/2 cent of a sales tax, meaning if the sales tax go up to compensate, you'll get more. And 25% of all sales taxes are paid by tourists. So you'll end up with a better financial structure, even if property taxes go down, if 60% of the voters want them to go down. I think you need to trust that the county and, quite frankly, your own city staff is negotiating, obviously, a hard deal. I'm just a citizen here. I don't represent anybody in this fight, except that I'm a citizen, and for the last 50 years, I've spoken here for transportation and affordable housing. And I went to the meeting last night in Drew Park, and there were at least 5 or 6 times in the 11 good questions from the CRA that I heard the developers say, we'll work with you on that. Yes, we'll provide ample parking. Yes, we'll listen to you on that TIF, the home rule TIF. Yes, we'll listen to you on what it takes here in Drew Park. And yes, we're listening and understand the needs of Drew Park, and we'll work with you on them. That means that your team in the city and the county are negotiating a tough deal, that you are not able personally to participate more in it. I think you need to trust that the county and the city staff are working hard. And last night, there was a willingness to negotiate, and the fact that they said a week or two ago to please stop, piling on and requiring more, that's like going to a toy store with your kids. When they bring 10 toys each, you got to say something like 3 each, and don't all of you bring in 10 toys each. Love you, but you've got to find a way to trust your county, trust your city staff. They're working hard on your behalf. I haven't seen, with all due respect, any dirty politics. All I've seen is a bunch of people trying to unify this community, to mobilize this community, to get jobs we have no other way of getting, and to use the best format of taxes to do so, and to create a TIF that will create 10 or 20 or 30 times more taxes. And from that, we won't get those additional taxes in Drew Park unless we do this baseball and save $65 million worth of maintenance of HC. Please save Hillsborough College.
Thank you. Next speaker, you have 3 minutes. Please start with your name. If there's anybody else that wishes to speak during public comment, please stand up against the wall so we know how many we have left.
Thank you, Council. My name is Mary Fussell. I've been a Tampa resident for 52 years, a former teacher, a 30-year business owner. I find my joy now in museum docenting, touring students, and starting with preschoolers through several museums. I'm speaking today on the city's complicity, acquiescence in allowing Raymond James Studio to be monetized for 2 evenings by a known anti-Semite, Kanye West. My museum training, coupled with a basic recall of history, has taught me the importance of and the obligation to not simply stand by, to not be a bystander. I choose not to remain silent when a Nazi proponent is invited to perform in the open and at such a scale in my city. I am aware that the Tampa City Council does not control the TSA. I'm also aware, and I believe, that you have influence. You have great influence over TSA via your appointments, your financial approval, and your relationships. These 2 upcoming June performances are, unfortunately, maybe a fait accompli. Our governor has even urged their cancellation. This is PR that Tampa does not need. But here we are. Contracts are executed, profits are expected, both for the anti-Semite and TSA alike. But before TSA takes its share, I understand that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are first in line to profit, which is also astounding to me. This has got to be the best ever example of an unforced error. This sanctioning, by way of renting one of Tampa's biggest assets to a Nazi proponent, begs several questions. How did this happen? Was TSA's sole consideration profit? Was TSA really ignorant as to this performer's recent and well-known history? Was there actually no vetting in this regard? Might a similar circumstance occur in the future? Are the Tampa Bay Bucks actually in support of these shows? Kanye West's lyrics and merchandise contain representation, narratives, and endorsement of misogyny and hatred of Jews. The two Jewish federations in our Tampa Bay area and the Anti-Defamation League track instances of anti-Semitic violence and other acts against Jews. Facts are facts. These despicable episodes are alive and well and are happening. There are those who will argue free speech, First Amendment, cancel culture. Hosting a proud anti-Semite, Kanye West, in our city is a black eye.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, you have 3 minutes. Please start with your name.
Hi, my name is Janet Hammer. I live nearby. I live in St. Petersburg, and I consider what happens in Tampa to be very closely related to my life and well-being as a citizen in St. Petersburg. You just heard very powerful words about concerns about TSA's decision to allow the concerts by Kanye West at Raymond James Stadium, and I am in total agreement with all of those questions and statements that were raised by the previous speaker. I am here today to continue on this point, and I want to share with you a letter that that I did send. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to read it. I write to you today with a profound concern regarding the scheduled performances of Kanye West on June 26th and 28th. I and a larger Jewish community and our friends and our neighbors urgently request you to speak up and recommend that the TSA cancels these performances. Yes, I understand it wasn't your decision. At a time when anti-Semitism is rising at alarming rates across the United States and around the world, the decision to provide one of Tampa Bay's most prominent public venues to an individual who has repeatedly promoted anti-Semitic rhetoric, embraced Nazi symbolism, and spread hateful conspiracy theories sends a deeply troubling message. And this is at the same time as my community, the Jewish community, is facing increased threats of harassment, violence, and concerns for safety. And I just want to share with you, if I go into my house of worship, we have to have paid security guards protecting us at the door. I believe churches and mosques and other temples do not have to do that, but every synagogue in the United States has to do that. Okay, really, I am asking you to stand with the brave and stand up against this rhetoric. There are communities all over the world, most recently in Italy, a city, Reggio Emilia, decided to cancel the concert. You can stand behind our effort to cancel this concert and stand for what's right in Tampa. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker. Please start with your name.
Good morning. My name is Jackie Dennis, and I want to speak on behalf of the late Lillian Williams Brown. Item number 3. Miss Lillian Williams Brown, this project is to be named in honor of her. It's a housing project, affordable housing project in East Tampa. I grew up in East Tampa. I've lived in East Tampa all of my life in 3 different locations. That's how much I love it. But I had my beginnings as a now retired elementary teacher. I had my beginnings with Miss Lillian Williams Brown, who was known as Miss Williams at that time. She was my kindergarten daycare teacher at First Baptist Church of College Hill. So I had my beginnings with her, but what's unique about that, I also graduated from what used to be Bethune-Cookman College, now Bethune-Cookman University, along with Miss Williams Brown, who went back to school while I was in college along with her daughter. During that time, I really got to know her as a loving, caring mother, grandmother, friend type individual. She was a dorm counselor in the dorm I was living in at the time, and everybody in the dorm knew Miss Williams. She just was a community person. I believe that this building should definitely be built, this housing project, affordable housing, in honor of her legacy. I was with her really all of my life up until the week that she passed away, and I believe she was either 95 or 96 years old. Everybody in our community, in our area, in the Jackson Heights, Belmont Heights area, knew Miss Lillian Williams Brown for the caring mother, teacher, grandmother, teacher, friend that she was, and we will always remember her. Please have this building built in her honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, you have 3 minutes. Oh, okay.
Good morning.
Please start with your name.
I am Julia Jackson, resident of the East Tampa at one time, and now I am currently still in Hillsborough County. But 25 years ago, as an educator, 30 years as a writer and photographer for the Florida Sentinel Bulletin. I also have a son, Julian Ramon Jackson, an educator. All of this is due because of the Williams family. They have impacted this community so highly that there are so many doctors, lawyers, maybe some Indian chiefs too out there, but they are faithful. The Williams family has been so faithful. All of her children, except for 2, graduates of Bethune-Cookman University. Being part of the Williams family, as she entered into the education of life, that was a #1 Stanford for her. Part of this was extremely important because of the impact she left with this, starting out with even the St. Peter Claver School, where her daughter was the principal there. Also, the family true essence of the center of education, the center of the essence of the community, the center of one of our first African-American women to raise a family and educated all of her children, including 2 boys, although they went to FAMU, so that they're okay, but they're okay. But the estate that we're looking at, we truly need this estate, being the fact that it will be for our seniors, including myself. This establishment would help so many people, being the first building site for an African-American family to say that we have first come out to be able to form a building like this with the help of the Genesis Development. I say to you, I beg of you, the Lillian Williams of this city of East Tampa, the impact that they have laid out, education. There is nothing else involved but education, starting out with a kindergarten, starting out with a daycare. There's nothing else involved with that. So why not we have this building established right here in East Tampa? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please start with your name. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ashley Morrow, and I'll be sharing Tampa's Black History. So last week, I talked about a colored school actually being located in the Pedroso House. That was at the corner of 8th Ave and 13th Street. And again, similar to Nancy Ashley, how we attach Black women's stories to white people or white men. We tied Paulina Pedroso to Jose Marti. We tied Nancy Ashley to William Ashley. But I think Paulina Pedroso, if that is the same building that that colored school was in, I think her legacy should be tied to that, because it was a successful black school, and it should be notated or put somewhere that that's where that school was located. And it may be, and I have to do a little bit more research, if you did not know, Harlem Academy was burnt down in the 1890s, similar to, oh Lord, what's that school right there next to the old Allen Temple? St. Peter Claver. Thank you so much, Joe. And see, y'all, some of y'all know. Okay. So I really think that we need to start looking and digging a little bit deeper into our history and making sure that the full story is told. So West Tampa has a few streets named after places in Cuba. Matanzas, Habana, I know this Garcia was a street, or is a street as well, still here in West Tampa. And now my Cuban history is really rocky, but that's a story for another day. Like I told you guys last week, I think the Afro-Cuban community really needs to rise up. If there's any in here, I think y'all should be learning your history and definitely talking to some of your elders or speaking to some of your elders. The Cuban community, white and black, let me take this off. White and black, I think, need to be speaking to these elders that are still here. There's been a conversation, I've been asked a lot about the Afro-Cuban history, and I'm like, I'm not Afro-Cuban. I don't even know where to start. But there are people that descend from Afro-Cubans, and I think they should be speaking to their grandparents and their elders. Some of them that I've spoken to, they don't identify as Afro-Cuban, and they don't even speak Spanish, unfortunately. And we've been asked sometimes by the white Cuban community to share the Afro-Cuban history. And I'm like, we don't even speak the same language as some of these elders. Some of them speak English, but not the best English. You should be recording it while they're still here. That's my stance on that. So I'm going to get into this Cuban history next week, but I just wanted to get into that and redirect our focus on what Paula Pedroso's legacy should be. Instead of that park, it should be tied to that school that was there all those years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Next speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Valerie Bullock from Ponce de Leon in College Hill. I want to talk about Miss Hazel. It's not just a house that got destroyed. She had history in our neighborhood. It's right there on 26th Avenue where Lee Davis Clinic is at. It's behind that little side street called Holmes. It's right across the street. It's behind Suncoast Grocery Store. And Mrs. Hazel, she had been there a number of years. She raised her niece, Juanita. I went to school with her in 5th grade, and all the project children used to run in and out of her house because Juanita wasn't allowed to the projects. But this right here is not an isolated incident. I know of several people in East Tampa that's elderly in their 90s, and their house is falling apart or it need to be repaired. And when we go to the CRA, for whatever reason, you don't qualify. And I thought the CRA was for the people and to remove the slum and blight. But evidently the CRA is now a big bank to bankroll businesses and corporations. And it should not be like that. This is not an isolated incident. I have yet to read where a house got destroyed in Cobert Island, Davis Island, or Mapledale. It only happened in East Tampa. 99% of the time to the most vulnerable people, the people who've already paid their dues to society, who've helped the other people that came behind them, they are the ones that keep losing their house and getting victimized. And I want to know, why do it keep happening? How do these people fall under the cracks? And a good example, when I was working with Mr. Williams, we couldn't get nobody to help him with his house. And he owned his house. What is going on? We need to look at the CRA, the rules, how they can help the community, to the people, the legacy homeowners. Every time I go to the CRA meeting, I'm talking about legacy homeowners. They tell me it's no such thing as that. Yes, it is. If we've been living over there 30, 40, and 50 years, we legacy homeowners. You all got legacy business owners, so why can't we be legacy homeowners? We need to look into this so people can, we all gonna die. I'd like to die in my house. The people that's 96, 97 years old, they should not be displaced or have to go through such trauma to move from the house that they've been living in 30, 40, and 50 years. We need to actively do something about it, and I suggest the CRA hire people, go knock on doors, go to the churches, talk to the churches. Because we are not communicating. Some kind of way, it's a communication block there. And it needs to be fixed. Thank y'all very much.
Next speaker.
My name is Pastor William. I'm located on 1112 East Scott Street. And, but you know what? I come up here week after week. We don't get no answer. Poor young lady be crying for me and everybody else. But we don't get no answer. Seeing that don't nobody care. The people out back here care more about my problem than you all do. And you all the one that's supposed to be able to do something about it. Miss Young, you're on District 5, right? And so you need to come and talk to some of us that are just one time you take care of District 5. Come and talk to us personally. The young lady that just left up here, she helped me out a whole lot. And I thank God for it too, because if I didn't get some help from some of these people back here, I would never get no help. And I'm handicapped, old and handicapped and ugly. But you know what? We got to survive one way or the other. We trust y'all. Y'all ought to trust us for what we need. And Tony Daniel, over here talking about the Jackson House. That thing been there for many years. I used to live there. But you know what? Nobody want to do nothing about it. Fix it up. You know what? I'm going to give y'all 10 days to get somebody to come fix it up. If y'all don't fix it up, we could go in there and burn it down ourselves. And that's my mean, and that's my right too, to burn it down. We don't take care of the Constitution when it comes down to black folk. We just get up and make some noise, and the next thing you done, ring in the bell there telling us to sit down. A lot of people are accurate. They said telling you what you need to do. You get off your butt and go do something. Help these people. My water bill has been off for over a year. And I told you all about it a year ago. You think y'all came back and do something? No, that's just like I tell you. Now these people back here help me out more than you all do. But y'all voted people. Y'all they're supposed to be voted. I don't know, maybe y'all not. But I just have to thank God for things as well as it is with me. I'm handicapped. Y'all don't look at that. Miss Young, you don't care about me to be handicapped. You wish all of us was handicapped, right? But we're able to do something, move. This man right here helped me more than you and every y'all. But I'm grateful for all of y'all that want to help me and can't help.
Thank you,
because
Pastor
the city
Williams.
told you don't help Pastor Williams, because they took my church and everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, they took my church and did away with it and ran me out of there.
Thank you.
But
Thank
you know, I'm very grateful I'm alive today.
Thank you.
And thank God for each and every one of God bless you, God. I told them just you all have me more than they do. God bless you. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Good morning. This is Maida Martinez for the record. Everyone knows me as Mimi. I am a current East Tampa CAC member. I took off today so I can talk about the MOU. So thank you for having that discussion. I have many items on the agenda I want to touch upon today, starting off with the Legacy on 34th Street and the Vicente Ybor housing projects. I support both of them. Now more than ever, we need to support our local CRA projects that CAC residents are asking for. When the Legacy on 34th Street developers came to present to the CAC a couple of months ago, I did ask them to consider to install some artwork that will reflect the history of Lillian Williams Brown, because it's important that we keep telling and showing the history of East Tampa. Along the lines of developer deadlines, I do believe that it's important that whenever we are funding a big dollar amount project, that developer should come back to the CAC to report where they are in their project phase. And I'm going to give you a good example of the EDC. So they've been coming to us every couple of months to update us on their plans for the East Tampa Industrial District. I give them a lot of kudos for doing that. My only ask, and I did say this during the meeting that we had earlier this month to them, to Craig, is that they share with us their 2022 industrial master plan, because they have a plan in place on what they want to do for that area along Columbus Drive on, I think it's like 34th Street to 40-something Street. You're going to get better buy-in and support and partnership from the East Tampa CAC if we know where you're going. They are coming to us and they're reporting to us about the Live Learn, the Opportunity Zones, the Ashley East, but there's more that's on the horizon, and it's all about transparency, and they are being accountable by updating us. But every time they come to the CAC, clearly you can see people don't understand how it's all connected. So that is my ask, that we do obtain that. Also for the East Tampa CRP, I just want to make sure that there's nothing in our CRP says that we're going to build a stadium, a sports stadium. I don't know how the Drew Park CRP has that, because usually that's not in a CRP. So I just want to make sure before you approve that we don't have that in there, because we don't need that in East Tampa. For the MOU, so my concern, my perspective is it's a CRA. And the CAC is strategically designed to have local residents and stakeholders and businesses who are going to drive the partnerships and projects in that area for the people, by the people. Thank you for continuing to have these conversations. It's a matter of being kept in a loop. I'm concerned that the CAC is losing their voice. And this project is not in a silo for just Drew Park, because if they have to go to the county to Sunset, we're in line too, East Tampa. This is going to impact all the CRAs. That is my focus right now, is that we need to be represented and our voices cannot be lost. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning, Bobby Creighton. I was going to speak on urban reworks today, but I saw item number 3 on the agenda. I was present at the East Tampa CAC meeting when they had the discussion about this project. I was going to say it's a home run, but I think we're all getting very weary of the baseball metaphors, so I'm going to say it's an A+, A++ with a big circle around it to honor Miss Williams Brown's legacy. It's in the perfect location. It's literally minutes walk from a public park. It's a beautiful park, Albarns Park. It's literally minutes walk from the East Tampa industrial corridor. It's just a few minutes from a huge development that's going to be happening in East Ybor, where a lot of new jobs are going to become available. And it's got all the levels of affordable housing that you want. This is a wonderful, wonderful project. I strongly support it, and I hope you do too. For the Urban Reworks project, this is another project that I support. I did a little research to see what affordable housing there is on Nebraska Avenue. There's the Adderley, which was huge. That's up north of Bush. There's Echo Oaks Apartments on 32nd Avenue in Nebraska, and Urban Heights, which is just a little bit south of Hillsborough. But other than that, all you really see are these townhomes or condos starting at $450,000 and above. There's really not a lot of affordable multifamily housing on the corridor itself, where people can walk out of their front door, hop on the bus, and get straight to a job. This project will provide some of that housing. That would be the easy way to take. I mean, if you look at the size of the lot, where it is in relation to Gasworks and these other, I guess you can say higher end developments, the easy road would be build the expensive townhomes, build the expensive condos, get as much money as you can and leave. But that hasn't been the approach here. I understand there is some discussions that need to be had about funding, about what the reserve is to fund projects like this, and to balance that discussion with how do we get projects like this one across the finish line if there is a capital stack with other contingencies, with other loans, where that funding needs to become available publicly in order to get this accomplished. So I completely respect that is a discussion that needs to be had, and I hope it's very thorough to check the longevity of the funds for other projects in the future. But I will say, given the dearth of affordable housing that we have, the location on a major transit corridor, the vicinity to a massive job market in downtown and Ybor, I support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Start with your name.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. My name is Shalette Davis. I am Executive Director of Love Inc. of Metro Tampa. And what we do at Love Inc. is we partner with a network of church partners, community organizations, and even government to serve our neighbors and to love them and walk alongside them when they're going through some of life's greatest challenges. Here this morning in support of Urban Reworks, Vicente Ybor project, which is their affordable housing development along the Nebraska Avenue corridor. At Love Inc., we work with hundreds of Tampa families each year who are struggling to make ends meet. Many people assume that housing instability only affects those living in poverty, but increasingly, we are seeing working families, teachers, seniors, essential workers who are being priced out of the very communities they've served and lived in these legacy homes for years. These are our ALICE families in our community. ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed Households who work hard every day, yet still struggle to afford housing in Tampa's current market. Nonprofit workers as well. Like I said, they're teachers, healthcare workers, childcare providers, hospitality employees, retail workers, and countless others who help keep our city running. Projects like this one are important because they recognize a reality that many of our neighbors face every day. Earning a paycheck is no longer enough to guarantee housing stability. By creating housing opportunities for residents earning up to 80% of AMI, Urban Reworks, it's helping bridge a critical gap for working class families who often fall between market rate housing and traditional housing assistance programs. This development is more than a housing project. It is an investment in the long-term health and vitality of our community. Housing is not simply a social service issue, it is an economic infrastructure issue. When workers cannot afford to live near their jobs, families become unstable, employers struggle to retain talent, and neighborhoods lose the very people who contribute to their character and strength. Urban Reworks has consistently demonstrated the commitment of thoughtful development that honors both community revitalization and affordability. This project reflects the kind of innovative partnership that allows Tampa to grow while ensuring longtime residents and working families are not left behind. So the question is not whether Tampa will continue to grow. The question is whether the people who serve Tampa every day will still be able to call it home. I believe this project helps answer that question in the right way, and I respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Start with your name.
Okay, good morning. I'm Cedric Carrington. I'm an East Tampa resident, and not to be outdone by Ashley Morrow, I plan to share a little history as well. So November 1863, in the war-torn Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address, which concluded with the words, "Of the people, for the people, by the people." And true words cannot better describe agenda item number 3. Ms. Lillian Williams Brown, Victoria, and Raquel hail from Jackson Heights and endeavor to invest and develop in Jackson Heights for residents of Jackson Heights. I support this. Let's make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Please start with your name.
Desiree A. Jackson. Today I represent my mother, Helen Wright Jackson Young, and countless others who are the fruit of Miss Lillian Williams Brown's legacy of service, and this is item number 3. Mother Lillian lived a life of service, and the legacy was instilled in her by her parents, her church, and the founder of her beloved college alma mater, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, who taught her that faith is the first factor of a life devoted to service. Without it, nothing is possible. With it, nothing is impossible. 34th Street, Jackson Heights, East Tampa, and Hillsborough County truly needs a beautiful, safe, comfortable, and affordable mixed house use, as in will be the senior workforce housing project on 34th Street. The need is great. Please honor the toil, dedication, and heartfelt decades of her multi-generational service by providing more affordable housing for her community. The children and great-grandchildren that she nurtured and their families, she's taught them that they can do and become better. And those who she has guided, they need still some place to live in their community. On this date, June 11, 2026, let us bring life to the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The time is always right to do what is right. Yesterday, today, and now. The time is way, way overdue. Please help us bring affordable, comfortable, safe housing to the people of East Tampa, who are the legacy of Mrs. Lillian Williams Brown. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. If you are wishing to speak, please line up. If there's anybody else that is left to speak, please line up so we know how many people we have left. Thank you. One of my interns in the audience, could you come here, please? I'm talking to my interns. Thank you, Kendall.
Joe Robertson, West Tampa. I'm going to be on the agenda, but I decided to speak this time. First of all, I want to say I'm here to speak on this item here. In West Tampa, CRA, we're having issue. We're studying our alleys. We spend over $250,000 if we get on lit up alleys with some lights. Alleys is a problem, and what this is a code amendment change that we're going to be looking at. I just sent this to our committee, the advisory committee, and we're going to be looking at it because the code is sort of messed up. They're telling people you got to use rear alley access, but there may be trees there. It may not be wide enough. There may be a problem. Even this city council, when someone objected on St. John a couple of years back that they wanted to go against the administration's denial, city council reversed it and says they don't have to put the alley access to a garage in the rear. And we're studying alleys because they're neglected. And so this is something that our vice chair, Mr. Carlos Ramirez, has been working with some of the developers to come up with a change into the West Tampa overlay, because it's a problem. And the other thing that I'm going to be suggesting to our group is that if we want these alleys to be utilized, if we want these alleys to be accessible, then the CRA is going to have to put some money up to help do that. So if the developer says we got to make him have rear alley access and the alley's not paved, the alley's raggedy, then we need to probably have some of our funds from the CRA set up to offset that cost. Because when they build in the middle of the block, they got to improve the alley all the way from the side street up to the middle. So what I'm going to be proposing to our committee, and I'm letting the CRA board know now, is that we set up a fund, start with $1 million, that we will subsidize to help get our alleys up to par if we're gonna make them real alley assets. Because at the end of the day, when the alley is improved, the homeowner or the property owner that's adjacent to the alley is responsible for maintaining it. And when you have older people, you have people who don't care, you have renters, they're not gonna take care of that alley. So what we need to do is try to improve it, because the monies from the CRA can be used just for infrastructure, and we're the first group in Tampa to study the alleys, and we're finding a lot out. We've got some studies, we've even got lights in them now. And so we're dealing with that because West Tampa is a historic district, and we got a lot of alleys. So I want to bring that up on this part of the agenda, then I'll be back to do my report once Ms. Brunner introduced me. So that's why I'm up here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please start with your name.
Good morning, Allison Hewitt, third generation resident of East Tampa and business owner. Several agenda items I'd like to speak about. Number one is item number 3. We are extremely excited that we do have one of our first projects that are legacy property owners to be able to turn their land into something that is going to be additionally beneficial to the community. I urge your support for that. What has been put in front of you as a proud member of the Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association, this is the letter of support. This project is right in the middle of Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association, so I wanted to make sure Ms. Tate had another appointment this morning and could not attend herself, so she asked for me to give that to you. The other item on the agenda is about the housing. I've spoken to several about. If we can please make sure that as we are trying to bring 50% and 30% affordable housing units to East Tampa, which an average median income of $25,500, is that they are get additional subsidies to make sure that we are addressing those issues in East Tampa. The other item on the agenda is the CRP. One of our challenges, I have spoken to you before, is how do we know where we're going if we don't know where I've been? There's not a substantial report in there on what worked and what didn't work, on how we're moving forward. The other thing is that the CRA is supposed to supplement what the city does and not fund all the infrastructure. And this is a significant CRP in which only things that can be paid for out of it has to be in the CRP. And we're setting the precedent that infrastructure, which should be a city responsibility, is now going to be taken over by the CRA, and that I have significant challenges for. So as we are moving forward with our special projects grants, I know that report was received and filed. I'm hoping that as we are moving forward with these commercial grants, and especially as they deal with mixed use and affordable housing, that you are making sure that we are weighing projects that can be substantial in bringing housing to the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last speaker.
All right. Good morning. I'm Shagret Dawson. I'm going to behave because I just got a text telling me to do so. But we got cross burnings going on in Chicago. And we have miscarriages of justice going on throughout the country. And my question is, I don't understand why the community gives so much grace to people who hate us so much. My question is, where is the hood at? And I'm giving a shout out to DMX with that right there. And I'm speaking to everybody within these now divided states of America. And even the people who were pandering for so long are starting to get their wake-up calls. But I want to get back to what the gentleman asked me about last week to discuss with child support. And I thought that Florida's elected officials had a greater responsibility to their constituents and to focus on the issues that affect Florida directly. So I was blown that the Florida AG showed so much of a disdain and a vigor and a hostility with overtones toward the NFL's hiring of black coaches in a league that's over 70% black. And I'm confident that his fake vigor wouldn't exist if he had to face one of these brothers in person. I'm kind of sick of a whole lot of these fake tough guys popping up because they're cloaked in a position or what have you of authority. I would think that the attorney general would spend more time focusing on the hearing officers and the attorneys that run the Department of Revenue and the child support services that abuse so many of these men and women who have issues. And to the people who call me and say, you know, Doss, I want you to address this when you get there, and I'm like, you know, we understand that this is not a city council issue, but like I say, y'all step on my YouTube money, so I come up here and I use the platform, and you all take pretty good pictures of me as well. But that being said, people don't just complain. Do what President Obama said. Vote. You get these opportunities annually. Step up and let your voices be heard. And to you, Mr. Attorney General, I won't say your name because I know you also represent the judge who falsely accused me of a crime, but spend your time focusing on issues, and I'm gonna take a line of showing some compassion and common sense toward insurance companies, and I'm speaking specifically to State Farm, who take advantage of elderly people and veterans. You have, you know, attorneys that are confident walking into courtrooms and just outright lying to judges. And don't take my word for it. Just look me up and then look up any of my cases and look at the transcripts. They're really comfortable in doing these things. That being said, I send my condolences to my buddy Pat Reddick's family. He passed at too young of an age, I think of 56. And shout out to the greatest institution of higher learning in the city of Tampa, the University of Thomas Jefferson High School.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. Board Member Hurtak.
Yes, I need to amend my motion regarding the approval of today's agenda to include the approval of the addendum as well.
Second. We have a motion by Board Member Hurtak, second for Board Member Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And can I also have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 14, 2026 CRA meeting and May 21st, 2026 special call meeting? A motion by Board Member Maniscalco, second from Board Member Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All righty. And now we move to our staff reports with agenda item number 1.
Good morning,
Good morning.
CRA board members. My name is Brenda Thrower. I'm the West Tampa Development, CRA Development Manager, and I'm here to introduce Mr. Joe Robinson, who is the chair of the West Tampa CAC, and he's here to give you an update on what's happening in West Tampa.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Madam Chair, how much time do you want to give me? 1 minute?
How much time do you need?
Whatever
sir?
you say, I could go. You know that, Charlie. 10 seconds. Prove everything on the agenda. Let's go home.
Is 5 minutes okay?
5 minutes is fine.
Okay, good.
Joe Robinson, longtime resident of West Tampa and the West Tampa CRA chair. Let me just say this. First of all, West Tampa is different than any other CRAs. We're good to 2043, so we're not worried about extension. We got plenty of money because my approach back in 2013 and 15 when we started was to get the developers to develop without CRA money. So that's why you see a lot of the projects in West Tampa, not Rome Yard, not West River, receive 1 dime of CRA money. Right, Ms. Brenda? Right, Cedric? They receive no CRA money and never will, as long as I'm around. They need to stand on their own 2 feet like most developers should, okay? Now, with that said, let's just start with the major park improvements, because we figured the city didn't have the money, so we put the money up first. And one of them is Salsinas Park. We just completed the ribbon cut in April 2026. Done. Took almost 5 years. Done. Beautiful. Walking, you drive down, coming down Howard to the right. Beautiful. Now, it don't have a lot of shade, so you don't sit in that heat, but it has a nice swing, has nice amenities, and the Salsinas family appreciate it very much, very much. And the mural behind it tells a story of the community. So that's completed, done. We're sorry to get stuff done. Ray Park, permitting is almost complete. We're putting 3-point-something million into that. CRA money, not regular city money. We're not gonna wait on the city. We're gonna deal with the CRA money that we have because we know how to move things forward. The project's in process. They got 90% plans coming out. And not only that, you guys helped approve previously at another meeting $1 million additional dollars to get the street around it straight, to get the lighting around the park straight, to get it where you know you can come with a baby stroller, get it the surrounding property, sidewalks and right-of-way straightened out. Thank you very much. So down the road, you'll see that demolished, and you're gonna see a beautiful red brick building come back, beautiful design for Parks and Recs to do that. Freedom Park, another park that's on Fremont, and we're waiting for the street grid to be rechanged. We're gonna open back up where the cul-de-sacs are, that the safety, Mr. Lewis, the fire department, the safety people complaining you can't take a fire truck down there to a burning house and turn it around if you wanted to. A house burned up down there one time about several years ago. So and if you want an ambulance, how can it get straight through? It's got to go find the street it goes through. So we want to open up our grid, the natural grid, and we got to study to that, and we're looking to do that. And once we get the grid straight, then we can deal with Fremont Park. And one of the uses of it is probably a dog park would be probably the best use for Fremont Linear Park. The other thing, so we talked about the grid, the West River Walk project, about halfway done. If you go down Rome Avenue, you see a lot of the money that we put in, the $10 million, coming to life. It's going to also tie into the Soul Walk on the west side. It's coming to life. There's a lot of construction going on Rome Avenue. Real hard to go up and down Rome all the way on the other side of Kennedy. My doctor's office is down on the other side of Kennedy, so it's really hard to even park on the street. But it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be walkable. It's going to be bikeable, Ms. Hurtak. It's going to be everything that we want to have, and it's not any city money. It's really CRA money. Okay. Now, let's move on to Main Street Commercial District. We just did the quick bill. Right down Main, you'll see parking spaces. You'll see new pavement all the way from Boulevard to Armenia was done. Street marked off. You couldn't park on there organized if you wanted to the quick bill project. That was about $300,000 that we put in. And we're planning for Main Street beautification for the entire corridor on Main Street. We're even doing property acquisitions to get some of the derelict buildings, some of the alcohol establishments that need to go. If you ride down Main Street, you get a contact, Mr. Carson, just riding down there, okay? So, but, they say it's medical, not illegal, it's medical, but, you get a contact. But then, I keep it real. And then we're also Cohatch. Cohatch has spent a lot of money there. We had a meeting over there tonight with our consultant to go over the CRP plan. We're updating because, we're antiquated. So we're updating our community development plan. Had a great turnout the other night, and staff has been good. And so we appreciate these people coming in with development. They don't have any CRA money. And we got the new Publix, new restaurants. We got more affordable housing than anybody in West Tampa because of the Housing Authority. We're doing strategic land acquisitions where we're getting more land. The commercial grants, even though, as far as I'm concerned, they're controversial. But I agree with Ms. Rita. I agree with you. I love you. I agree with Cedric and them. It's on the agenda to approve those policies. Let's approve them, and I'll just deal with whatever I got to deal with that. We've done public art over there by wrapping up boxes. We're doing upcoming studies with our community development plan that's going to be updated. Okay? We've had a meeting at Cohatch on the 8th to talk about the consultant, and I've been around a long time on the West Tampa CRA. I may be there for another year or two more. I'm getting old. I got a grandbaby now. She's 2 months old, so now I'm a granddaddy. Probably Bella Estelita Bell. See, Estelita. See that child, Estelita Bell. That's her middle name. But my granddaughter. So I've done a lot. Now I'm gonna say one thing, if I can have a privilege, Madam Chair, 1 minute. I have to address this. I was at the CRA meeting last night in Drew Park. They have a problem. They really need this thing with the race. It's gotten out of hand. They're even attacking me now. Now, if you attack Joe Robinson, I'm going to retaliate. See, now they're attacking me. I stayed at it, but they're attacking me personally. You're right. We got this negative attack thing yesterday, and they done throw me in the mix. But they want to throw me in the mix. I'm going to tell them, like I told them last night, I will destroy you if you start trying to destroy me, my business, engineering, or anything. Because I don't play that, and I want on the record, I will get the FBI and we'll shut this whole project down. All of this public corruption that may be going on will need to be investigated from the governor's office all the way down to here. Now that's all I'm gonna say, and I am on the Tampa Sports Authority board, and I am being sent negative attacks about this and that. I'm trying to profiteer from something that I ain't even close to. When did the Scaglione house be in the court of the Sports Authority? stadium. So don't play with me. I want that on the record. Y'all have a nice day. Finna go get me something to eat, man.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Board Member Hertek, Mr.
Robinson,
Mr.
don't go
Robinson, we
anywhere.
have some questions.
This is
We
not
have
public
questions.
comment, remember, it's a question time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I like to keep a little humor and stuff. Life is not that serious.
No, and I appreciate it. And thank you so much for your update. I am, though, going to go back to your public comment a little bit because alleys are a part of what the CRA is doing. And I do want you to know that in the budget for next year, we actually have the mobility and DGM have money in to finish the alley study for the rest of West Tampa.
Oh, wow.
So I just wanted you to be aware of that because it is critical. It's something that we have all been talking about on the dais for quite some time. So I'm really glad you did bring it up. It is a really important thing that the CRA started this. And I agree with you on the fact that we are going, we've talked about it. I even believe that there might be a motion coming from our chair later today having to do with really how we define the alleys that are usable to really make it clear what alleys can and can't be used for. So I really just want to say
I
thank you.
didn't even know.
Well, that's why I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
So I really do appreciate you bringing that up today. Thank you so much for talking about all of the park work that your CRA is doing and everything along with housing. Been on Main Street recently. The renovation is really lovely. The quick build is really great. It's really good to see what you all are doing.
Thank you very much.
Board Member Clendenin?
Yeah, actually, we did it on June 4th, new business, we already did. So that was one of the things I was gonna let you know. So again, as Councilwoman Hertek said, or Board Member Hertek today, thank you for West Tampa CRA for starting the alley program. We are programming money next fiscal year to complete that for West Tampa. But on top of all of that, on June 4th in new business, this council did take action to direct mobility, and we've been working with mobility staff to have more of a comprehensive approach to alleys throughout the city of Tampa to identify which alleys are usable, what they need to be able to make them usable so that we can clearly communicate with the community what is retainable, what's not, what's usable, what's not, so we have a consensus in there. So that is moving forward. I would like to acknowledge, one, the work with the West Tampa CRA has done with the West River Walk project and with the mobility on Rome is going to be incredible. It's going to be transformational, and congratulations to you and your leadership and West Tampa for furthering that project. I think that when people actually see what happens there, they're going to be very, very pleased. Main Street, I think, is one of the most exciting opportunities we have in West Tampa and the city of Tampa. I think that, again, what you all are doing, what your leadership has done in West Tampa with Main Street is incredible. It's one of those areas people ask me, where should I look in the city of Tampa? I'm a young family, I'm a young person. In the city of Tampa, I said, West Tampa, Main Street area, great opportunities. It's going to be the transformation that's happening there. Families are going to return. You're going to start seeing kids playing on the street. It's going to be an amazing area, and I think it's because of the work that you all have been doing and the CAC and the CRA has been doing is changing that neighborhood forever and really reclaiming it as really a jewel for the city of Tampa. On the contact stuff on Main Street, now I understand why I see you so often on Main Street, just hanging out there on the bed. So, plausible deniability. So yeah, but again, congratulations on all of that, and congratulations, Grandpa.
Thank you.
Board Member Miranda?
I just want to say, Mr. Joe, thank you very much to you and your staff and the people that sit with you in CRA that they've done the work that they've done. Most alleys in West Tampa, they're not all the same size, as you well know. They go from 5 or 6 feet to 12 feet or whatever. So I don't know who did it, but whoever did it, there's chain link fence on both sides of them. And some of those alleys are full of big oak trees, so you're going to have a problem getting a certificate to cut down the trees. I'm letting you know now. And these are the things that are happening thanks to your leadership and the way you work. And I appreciate everything that you've done with your committee. This is not a one-man show, a one-person show. It's all of you working together. And that's what makes, and by the way, West Tampa, that area there are no vacant homes in West Tampa. They put them for sale today, they're gone tomorrow.
Yep.
And I remember when a lot of West Tampa was $10,000 or $12,000, you can't touch one now for $300.
Exactly.
Or more. So it is what it is, and sometimes it's more difficult than what it was, because the salaries haven't kept up with what it is. And thank you again, and I know you still hold the record at, where?
Tampa Catholic.
Tampa Catholic. the fastest runner
9.8
in the,
seconds. 100 yards. They don't run 100 yards.
100 yards. I tried to catch them and I couldn't. But anyway, I want to say thank you for who you are.
Thank you, Mr. Miranda.
Thank you very much. That was an awesome report, and I will echo the sentiments of the board members. Just thank you for your leadership, but also to the CAC. You all are doing some really amazing things. I've gone to a few events and just, having to be over on Main Street, and it does look amazing. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what else is going to come. And also, congratulations for being a granddad.
I'm old now.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. Does the
Thank
board
you,
have,
Mr. Chair.
Can I say
Board
one
Member
thing?
Carlson?
When we get to the East Tampa CRP later, I'm going to express some of my concerns about it. It looks like a laundry list of administration projects. But I met with the consultant for the East Tampa one the other day, and I know you've done a good job being off and on chair for many years in moving projects along. My concern in talking to the consultant is, yes, the attorneys will tell us it has to be infrastructure, it has to be bricks and mortar and things like that. But with an area like West Tampa, it's and I know you're sensitive to this, is what I'm telling you. It's too rich in history to ignore it. And so I told the consultant, I said, you can ask me all you want, but you should really meet with some of the people in West Tampa that know the history. And I said, have you met with EJ Salsinas yet? So Charlie came along for part of it, but I met with EJ, and EJ for 2 hours, that was one of the coolest experiences I had. EJ for 2 hours was telling the consultant about the history and what things we should hold on to and all. And I hope that as you and your committee guide them forward, that we can do something different than just a list of infrastructure projects, that we can really think about how do we hold on to the unique culture of West Tampa, and as it develops, what is it that we want to have as it's continuing to change. It was just, any time with EJ is fascinating, but there are so many different perspectives that I want to make sure we hold on to it. If West Tampa ends up looking like Water Street, then it'll be a real shame.
That ain't gonna happen.
Not under
Let
your
me say
watch.
one thing that he brought up. One of the things I'm pushing for, because we're a National Historic District, and we have a study along the way to save our contributing structures, we're doing analysis, is that I'm telling staff, now they mad at me, but that we need to come up with a program for our wood frame houses, these little shotgun houses, and they can be rental rehab, and they can be put into the contract 30 to 50% AMI, Section 8, period. If you want the money, you gotta go to Section 8. That's how we do it. And there are a few structures left over there that are vacant. I got a few of them, but that's what we need to do. That way you'll save the shotgun house, you'll bring a house up, you put it to a 30 to 50% AMI max. If you ain't 30, 50%, you don't qualify. There's a backlog at Tampa Housing for over 20 to 30,000 Section 8, and my mission is to try to get that list whittled down. So thank you, you're on the right track. Anything else? If not, I'm gonna get me some barbecue at Conan's, man.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Thank you. All righty, and now we are moving to Director McCray.
Good morning again, Cedric McCray, Tampa CRA Director. Mr. Robinson just left. I wanted to know if that 9, 8, and the 100 was when aided or not. But it's being recorded, so I'm sure he'll catch me up to speed on that. Good to be before you again this morning for the CRA board meeting. I would like to highlight the efforts of our staff and our team on top of the monthly CAC meetings we've had that are previously scheduled. We've had several community engagements, events, and activities, and I'm just going to highlight a few. On June 4th, we had our commercial grants and special projects discussion and engagement with the community. On the 6th, we had a housing event at Fair Oaks Park Recreation Facility, and thank you, some of your staff were there in attendance, and we appreciated the community support on that. On this past Monday, we had our West Tampa CRP engagement meeting, and that was well attended. And as recent as last night, you heard from Ms. Astor Keys, of the Drew Park CAC chair, related to the engagement meeting and with the individuals from the Rays. So just wanted to acknowledge that we are doing the best we can as an agency to engage the community and bring things forward for discussion. As customary, you've received the CRA project tracker for the special projects, commercial grants, and housing. And we've discussed any points that you all have had during the briefings this week. Another item under the director's report, I would just like to highlight the annual audit that we go through. And, you know, it was listed that the CRA complied with all material aspects of the audit. And so I don't think we've had that discussion previously. So I just wanted to highlight to inform you that we're in good standing. And if we weren't, I'm sure Attorney Shepard would let us know.
Does the board have any questions? Board Member Hurtak?
Thank you. Thank you for the update, but I wanted to say thank you, especially for your team, for the update of the infrastructure and capital projects report. I really love the way that this month's information was highlighted and dated. And if you haven't seen this, if you are involved with the CAC, this is in our report, but correct me if I'm wrong, but now this should be added to every agenda for each CRA.
Yes.
So when the CAC meets, you're able to see at a glance what's going on in your CRA. If you want to know what's going on in other people's CRA, check this agenda, because every month we're going to have dated, updated information. So I just want to say thank you for that. It's made it very easy for me to go through and kind of see where we are on certain projects, and I really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you for the feedback, and that is a credit to Ms. Martinez and her team. And we have listened to the feedback from some of the members from the community advisory committees and the board, so thank you for that.
Anything else, board? All right, thank you very much, sir. Okay. Item number 3.
Yes. Good morning, board. Ballpark CRA Community Development Coordinator for the record, and I'm excited about this project. It's actually homegrown. We've heard what the community has been asking for the past several years, especially for building generational wealth within the East Tampa community.
How much time?
Give it about 10 minutes.
10 minutes,
I could
okay.
just talk. So I don't even need. Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
I'm just going to introduce it.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
So again, homegrown. We listened to the community, developed a program under the unit creation and conversion, part of our 30% allocation for affordable housing to help subsidize these type of projects. So Ms. Victoria Watson, through the Lillian Legacy LLC, partnered with Genesis Development Partners to submit an application for the Williams Brown Legacy Project. That's going to be 31 affordable units. They range from 30 to 80% AMI. It's a mixed-use development, so it will incorporate some retail and some grocery space underneath to service the community. Right now, it's slated to have 26 two-bath, two-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom, 2 baths, and then 5 one-bedroom, 1-bath units. And I have the development team here to explain further. Their ask is the $5 million, again, to support the development. And I met with several board members regarding this. And of course, we have to put some public investment in order for some private investment to come in. So it's crucial that we, if it's approved, we can move forward with a conditional agreement, as I mentioned before, and that prompts that private investment. So it's slated to be a 3-year commitment for up to $1,666 per year. And then, as you can see in your memo, you see the other commitments that we have for East Tampa as well. East Tampa is the #1 requested for this program. So I'm going to invite the development team to come up. And can we please have the presentation pulled up?
Thank you, B.
Okay, thank you so much.
Time starts now. So good morning, board members.
You have to start with your names to the record, please.
Yes, absolutely. I'm Dr. Lena Graham.
Ed Jennings.
Okay. So I'm happy and proud to be here to help facilitate the Williams Brown Legacy 34th Street project that she teed up and that you heard the public comments. Just a bit, You heard some of the public comments, but really, we're very excited because we have Miss Victoria Watson and her daughter here today, along with the family. So we're actually doing what was commissioned, which is taking a property owner in East Tampa and being able to develop the land. And it will have the premise and the legacy, the artwork that Mimi spoke about. It will be displayed in this project. When we got the call, we know we had to bring the best to get this done. And so myself, Dr. Lena Graham, I have 20 years experience in construction with a multi-generational background, construction, housing, and micro-development. And then my co-developer, who is Ed Jennings, I call him the GOAT. He has a background in affordable housing. He was appointed by President Obama, he served 2 terms with affordable housing and the Housing, Urban, and Development. We also have Donald Oldham. I've worked with him personally for about 12 to 15 years. And the thing that I think is unique about working with Donald, we've been able to do projects here in Tampa and maximize economic development and keeping tax dollars within the area because we work with subcontractors and able to give them some technical assistance and so forth, and to help bring them to the table, get them ready. So this is a prime project to continue growth all the way around. Just a snapshot about the project. It's geared to 30 to 80% AMI, and it's addressing some of the attainable, affordable, and workforce housing crisis that we've been hearing so much about and talking through. It's also a unique project because we're going to be looking at putting density in East Tampa. So very excited to have the 31 residential units and the commercial space that'll be a part of it. Some of the context and logistics of where it is, it's located 2917 North 34th Street, and it's right in a line with the Hart 34th Street, the route. So the transportation is there, and with the concentration on our seniors and workforce housing, is very important. One of the things that we're also excited about, we've been talking with Chief Tripp and some of the other first responders to have the workforce housing section to be able to maybe be available for some of the firefighters in that first year. That is a challenge. Sometimes the salary is a little bit lower. And then we, of course, have that senior component. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to my co-developer, Mr. Ed Jennings, to take it a little bit further in the presentation.
Thank you, Lena. Madam Chair, good to see you again, and to the other board members. Again, my name is Ed Jennings. Dr. Lena talked about my affordable housing experience, but I'm gonna personalize it a little bit that I'm a son of College Hill because my dad was number 10 of 14 who went to Middleton High School. He's also a former city commissioner and mayor of the city of Gainesville. So I know the pain you have as being a CRA board members and then rolling over to being city councilman. So I sat at his footsteps for years with a city council agenda, trying to figure out how to make these things work. But I'm excited to be here. This is the best of what you have the opportunity to do, to not just have folks like Lena and myself come in and assist, but to deal with and support families who are homegrown in this community, to develop 31 units of affordable housing, again at 30, 50, and 80 AMI, up to 6,000 square feet of commercial and appropriate mixed use with the zoning that we have there. We're gonna be doing a PD to make that happen and set aside for 50 years. In a year where we're talking about America 250, we're excited about having an investment that's gonna be a multi-generational opportunity there. The staff talked to you about the makeup of those 31 units, 26 two-bedroom, two-bath units, 5 one-bedroom, one-bath units in the commercial space that we talked about. We have in your packet the information from Florida Housing that talks about every year, you all know this, but around April or May, the Florida Housing gets a letter from HUD talking about what it looks like in all 67 counties in the state of Florida. These are the numbers in regard to not what's in your packet, but you look on the sheet that's there that we just put up on the guide, where you're talking about families at low as 27,000 family income for a family of 4 up to 91,000. That is a significant challenge and opportunity to be able to support those families, and everybody's talking about affordability. So what we're trying to do here is make sure the hardest of the hard to serve get a chance to stay in their neighborhood. We'll be focusing on a lot of seniors, also doing some workforce housing, as Dr. Lena talked about. So that's going to be a big issue. Next issue, that you see there is the capital stack that we're talking about, $5 million from you that we've been fortunate for the CAC to recommend, as long as also as the neighborhood has also recommended that. We're hoping to get support from you today on this investment. We are looking at a private debt of about $4.5 million and another $3.3 million of some investment in capital. We're going to be still value engineering this project, obviously trying to get the numbers tighter and tighter. Hopefully we'll get a little lower Fed interest rate so we can borrow a little bit more money. We can get that down a little bit over the next 6 months or a year. But these are the numbers we have right now, and we believe this can work. But as we reserve the right to come back to you, as you all talk about, and it was earlier discussed, the idea of those 30% and 50% units needing more subsidy. We believe we're going deeper than other projects have, and we may need reserve the right to come back to you for some additional support going forward. Next slide, you have about 70% of the money, of course, is going to be hard cost construction, trying to make that work. As Dr. Lena talked about, we pride ourselves, particularly because Dr. Lena's expertise, using local subs and contractors, being able to keep that money right here and circulate, not just in Hillsborough County, but in this part, in the CRA, having small and minority business owners having an opportunity to be able to live and develop their trades and see impact in the community. So we're very excited about that opportunity. Next we have there is timeline. There'll be a little fudge on this because we've got to go through the PD process through you with the city. So we think about 18 to 24 months. It may push a little bit past the 24-month timeline because we need to go through your process to make sure we do this with the parking, dealing with swift mud, we're dealing with the water retention issues and making sure those things happen. But we want to have a tight project that is developed to your standards, and more importantly, making the community and Ms. Williams' family proud. What we're most excited about here is, particularly for me, and I think Dr. Lena feels the same, is we could have just come in and just said amen based on what the citizens said. You don't get the opportunity respectfully in communities like this where people get excited about something, not because of Lena or myself, because it's connected to their own history. My parents are also Bethune-Cookman graduates. I told you my dad is a College Hill graduate, also went to College Hill Baptist Church. That kind of community connectivity is something that makes it easy for me to drive from Gainesville down here to be connected to not only my history personally, but to the family, because these folks really believe there's a dearth in trust right now of, do you care about us? Are you connected? Do you believe in us? You're hearing from them today. Not hearing from just the paid hired guns who are investing in what's going on, but you're hearing from them. They've said to the man and woman how serious and how committed they are. The idea is we're dealing with what has been labeled the DeSantis property opportunity saving or cost or cut, depending on how you want to deal with it. What is your response as elected officials? We got to build more. What we do is particularly building in commercial. How do you deal with your budget shortfalls? Having ROI on investment of this CRA money, not just going in, but going in and returning in the next 2 years. By the time, should the citizens of the state of Florida decide to support the $250K cap, you're going to be needing for, in the next 2 years, things in the pipeline, making sure that you can offset some of that with new income that we can put back into the community and be able to continue to provide the same services. So we're thankful that you all have given us the opportunity to be heard this project. And in closing, my dad always taught me, don't forget to ask. Madam Chair, board members, we're asking for your support for the $5 million ask for this investment project that's going to give you a great ROI for the community. Most importantly, yield the housing that for decades to come, and have some commercial investment in a community that sorely needs it. So thank you for the time. We gave back 30 seconds of your time.
Thank you. Board Member Maniscalco, I saw your light.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the presentation. I'm excited to support this.
Yes, sir.
And I'll tell you why. First, the AMI percentages, 30 to 80, I think that's so important because we see numbers and we hear numbers much higher than that. You had a chart that showed the breakdown of what is 30, what is 50. So you're addressing, the most critical of our community.
Yes, sir.
Number one. Number two, access to healthy food. We talk about food deserts, we talk about areas where people don't have access to healthy food, grocery stores, or even smaller locations. This would provide that. Hopefully everything works out. It's a beautiful project, But again, this is a very worthy investment, and we need more of this. You know, so I wanna just say I appreciate it, and I love the project.
Sir, thank you for that support. We appreciate that so much.
Board Member Clendenin?
Yes, thank you, Doctor. Thank you for your service to the administration and bringing, you know, affordable housing to the region. Thank you so much. One, if you've heard me in the past, you know, I've been skeptical a lot of times when proposals come before the CRA board with subsidies. This is one I'm not skeptical about. I think that, you know, this is, for everybody else that is watching, this is what we're looking for. This is exactly what we're looking for. This is, you know, and hopefully we'll get to a point where we won't require these types of subsidies, that these will be organic, but, you know, you have to have catalysts to be able to start this process. And I look at this as a catalyst proposal. You're at a great location. It is transformational for the community. As Councilman Maniscalco brought, your percentages of AMI are, I think, appropriate because you have mixed income to be able to support, you know, the commercial establishments that you're having there as well. I think that the fact that it's local and homegrown, kudos to you all, and kudos to, you know, the inspiration for the property owner to be able to seek this and look for this type of development. I really want to hit on the ROI you spoke of as we go into these things, when we look into these projects, when you see that there's an ROI, again, because that becomes transformational and helps as these projects roll and will hopefully accumulate. So your success will generate more success, and that's what we're going to look for. I like the commercial aspect of it. My only regret of this project is, and unfortunately, is just that where we are right now, this, because it's the first one, that it requires this surface, the parking. You know, because you're on a transportation corridor. I look forward to the day that we have viable, reliable transit, that we can reduce the amount of parking and that we can have folks living here, or we can have commercial down the ground. And I get the fact that we're not there yet, but hopefully, because of projects like this, as we move forward, there'll be a time when we can build this without so much parking, that we'll be able to, you know, accommodate more people for less cost per square foot. And again, and I hope that the numbers work, that you're actually be able to build a building as beautiful as what you see on there. I mean, I get that you're going to end up having to, you know, value engineer and all of it. Hopefully you'll be able to deliver a building as beautiful as what you've displayed here today. And again, kudos to you, and I congratulate the community on this project and being supportive of this project. Thank you.
Well, Board Member, before you go on to the next comment, I just have to say thank you to you, because you had to set the standard. You had to agree with the community coming to you in regard to having money set aside for these kind of opportunities and dealing with the 30, 50, and 80 up to 120 set asides. That's why I'm looking forward to hearing your conversation later on today about how that may change, because I will tell you, you just made the mistake of saying you support. It means we're going to come back and ask maybe for a little bit more. We may need that to really be able to make this thing work. It's important. One of the conversations that we're also going to be having in regard to the infrastructure issue is it is hard pressed to do every one of these small projects has to deal with its own swift mud issue, water retention issues. Can we do something as a large pond in the area that everybody can buy credits in? Those kinds of unique credits. I'm not telling you this is going to be one to get us there, but hopefully the one that begins to start that conversation, because it costs too much to do underwater, underground every time. All they're going to do is come back to you and ask for more money. If we can begin to look at what that region looks like, what that region of the community looks like, looking at existing ponds, looking at maybe some of the park space and making some big ponds there, making them cute and pretty, and having a little water retention with a little waterfall there. There's some unique things to do with people that are way smarter than me that have done in other places. So we want to use this as a model. So again, with the attitude that I've heard today and heard and had historically that you all have, is open and being creative. And that's the kind of thing that's going to bear fruit, that's going to have other people replicate it in the CRAs locally, but also around the state and around the country. And that's the kind of energy we love. So thank you for that kind of energy.
And thank you for those remarks. That's a fascinating concept of, you know, and it's one of these learning experiences for those of us that, you know, I was an air traffic controller. I was not a land development person. So,
Yes, sir.
I have to learn as we go on these types of issues. I look forward to learning that and make sure that you bring that to attention. If you hit roadblocks on that concept, I love the idea of having the shared resource and be able to buy in, to be able to promote this further type of development, again, as a catalyst to further development. So if you run into roadblocks on that concept, please work with my office, because we'd love to help you out on that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Board Member Fiera.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you guys very much for your presentation. You guys had me at Obama. I'm joking. But thank you for your presentation. And sir, correct me if I'm wrong, you were in the legislature
Just for a few days, yes, sir. I had the opportunity to serve from 2000 to 2006, representing Gainesville, Ocala. Had the fortune of serving with some extraordinary men and women in this, in the Bay Area, serving as chair of the Black Caucus from 2004 to 2006 as well. So that's why I say I know your pain,
Yeah,
and your excitement, because the opportunity to serve is a wonderful one. And that, so yes, sir, I did have that opportunity.
Well, thank you.
That's when we first met, I think.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir.
thank you for your service in that regard and both of the work that you all do. And, you know, obviously very glad to support this. This is something that, you know, in my philosophical belief on the role of government and what government should be doing, which is to empower people who need help to achieve dignity. And, you know, and that's what CRAs are here to do as well. CRAs can function, if you're a fan of the movie It's a Wonderful Life, as the Bailey Building and Loan, you know, which is essentially what we do, which is help people who need help, who are putting everything they got out there, working hard, raising their families, doing the right thing. You're talking about seniors, you're talking about working class people, you are talking about first responders, about police officers and firefighters and the hard work that they do. People who are just doing the right thing, in exchange for the right thing, they just deserve dignity, and dignity begins with a roof over your head. So I'm proud to support this. This is a great concept, great idea, with a lot of good values behind it. So just thank you all for your work.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm not going too far. I don't want to snatch defeat out of the part of victory, but I have to say to you, in this time where there's so much consternation between elected officials, you all had a tough issue you were working through at the beginning of the meeting, and you worked through it together. That is what we need in leadership. Not that everybody's of myopic mind, and everybody, oh yeah, I agree. No, it doesn't work that way. But the idea that you all could come together and decide we're gonna do some things together, everyone get a chance to get heard, that's what we need to watch. We wanna mimic you. We wanna see what our elected leaders are doing, and for you all to have that spirit, that says to me that there's nothing we can't do. And like I said, I'm really getting excited about this America 250 issue, and what are we gonna represent to our children and children's children? And that's what you all are representing here today, and I look forward to having the opportunity to come back to you a few more times going forward.
Board Member Hurtak?
Thank you, and you know, thank you for your service as well. Also, I was born in Gainesville, born in Tampa, but raised in Gainesville. So your father, and so yeah. So it's and in fact, I'm heading there this weekend to see my mother. So she's still up there. But I do want to say thank you so much. This project is our first legacy project, as you mentioned, and I really love hearing that not only is this created locally, but you're going to reach out and use local workers. That's really important to the community. It's something that they've said over and over again. So you obviously did your homework. You went to the community. I want to say thank you for that. And that board member Clendenin is right. There will be some challenges to this because this is a new project. Don't be strangers to us, because that is the whole idea. You're going to be the first to do a legacy project. We need to know what doesn't work, what is working, so that, you know, for better or for worse, you're paving for the next folks who come along. So just keep us updated with it. I agree, this is a lovely project. I will tell you, as you come forward to council as a rezoning, I'm a big bike advocate, so I'm going to expect protected bicycle parking.
Yes, ma'am.
Like secure bike parking, because that is a way that a lot of our residents can afford to get around now, especially with the advent of e-bikes. So the place that they can store that safely so that they're secure. Also parking for your clients that go to the grocery store or whatever retail you have there. So plan for that is the only thing I'm going to encourage, along with the other things that my colleagues have said. So thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Board Member Carlson?
Yeah,
And then
I don't know what else to
Wait,
say.
Board Member Carlson?
Everyone-
You're after
Oh, I'm
Carlson.
sorry.
Then you, I got you.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
You're okay.
Not that I want to.
Oh, my goodness.
Board Member Carlson.
I just want to thank everybody. We, the CRA board, as separate from the city council, created a strategic plan a few years ago. And it talked about things like designing beautiful architecture in neighborhoods instead of just building something cookie cutter. It talked about building neighborhood commercial districts so we could bring food and grocery stores, other services to communities. And it talked about targeting lower AMI individuals so that they can afford to live in, continue to live in the core of the city. I think this is a beautiful project. If it ends up like that, hopefully it will. And it looks like it's sensitive to a lot of issues in the community. And so I congratulate everybody. And I just have to say, this is the reason why I push so hard for the independence of the CRA is this is really different than what the city is doing. The city has a goal of 10,000 units, and they count up to 180% AMI. We're pushing for smaller quality projects that provide not just buildings, we're not just counting units, but we're counting amenities that enhance the quality of life of the people in the community, and that's what I think this will do. So thank you all for your hard work.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Board Member Miranda?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize.
You're
I'm
all
joking. But anyway, what's been said that hasn't been said. I wish the public would understand all that we're doing here, that you're doing, not us. You're looking at 31 units, activating a street that needs to be activated some more, and you're leveraging 7.8 million. That's your cash, I guess, or your financing cash. And
combination.
The CRA is requested 5 million, or a total of 12.8 million.
Yes, sir.
And for 31 units, you divide that. What do you get it per unit?
The number per unit, when you all in, and I'm going to say, I've got to take out, when we do that, take out the commercial as a
Right.
part of that conversation. So we're probably around 350 a unit now. We want to get that down to below 3. We've got a little construction reserve in there. The only good part about the economy suffering, respectfully, to the folks that are in the construction trade, they're a little hungrier because now we don't have a booming economy. So we believe our goal is to push hard, particularly by using some locals that Dr. Lean has extraordinary history with. We want to get that number to below 300,000 a unit.
And that's a real tight budget.
That is, it is a tight, that's why if we can do some creative things.
You're going to go for the plus or the minus.
Yeah, on the water management issues, I've got one of your council member, your board members, who I won't look at right now, who said I got to have some tightness for my bicycles and some other costs. I may need to do that too. So it may take me slightly above 300, just ever so much, to make sure everybody's happy. But in all seriousness, it is getting local subs in a room. There are so many men and women who do a thing well, but they don't know how to budget well. So part of it is not just doing it well, but having the training and expertise that Lena has about, hey, let's order together. Let's tighten up the budget. Let's make sure it's together and be able to deliver a project on budget that works for you, but also may again come back to requiring some more subsidy to make it work. So we're around that number right now.
And the reason I wasn't testing your numbers,
Yes, sir.
the public
Yes, sir.
sees this and they say, well, what does it cost? And when I ask the question, they tell you that the price is really unbelievable compared to what it's costing now somewhere else.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all very much.
Well, I'm very excited to see this project. Thank you both. That was a great presentation. I will echo a lot of the sentiments of the board members. I think it was Board Member Clendenin said this is what we look for. It's thoughtful. It's intentional. You can tell in the design and with the AMIs and food access, the commercial aspect. I mean, this is exactly the type of project that we look for. And in the first part of the presentation, it said this is not gentrification, it's generational stewardship. And as we talk about how do we it's no secret that there is a wealth gap in this country, and we have a long way to go to fix that. But this is when we talk about generational wealth and how do we begin to even try and close that wealth gap. This is one of the ways to do it. This is generational stewardship. And I grew up, my parents and grandparents told me the importance of having generational wealth and being able to pass down things to your family and to your children and your grandchildren's grandchildren. So I think what you all have done here, what the family has done here is amazing. This multi-generational opportunity, I think that is huge. And for this to be the first legacy project for this board is also something to be very proud of. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Thank you all for the work that you've done. I'm really looking forward. I will also echo the sentiments of the board. Please don't hesitate to reach out to our office. And thank you all so much. Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, I don't want to end without saying two things. One, I think it is fortuitous that you are sitting respectfully to your colleagues in the chair seat today, that history will know that when we started Legacy, it was a young lady who came from the neighborhood, who represents this district, who happened to be chair, with some extraordinary colleagues to do that. But the person I want to make sure we don't leave without is Ms. Pretoria. That this is all nice, but until you have a vision from a daughter and granddaughter who are here, that is why we're here. She doesn't get all the development conversation. She just knew and was taught from that little school in Daytona Beach, Florida. Enter, learn, depart, to serve. That the idea that you have to do something, pay it forward.
Absolutely.
It's not about how much money I can make today and sell something off. The idea, I need to begin to do something that, it's not a bad thing to have people that kind of look like you, to connect with you, to do something that's multi-generational. So her and her family, are the ones that we really want to thank today. And if you'll give her a second, if she wants to, only if you want to say hi and say something, because this is your deal, and I don't want to have taken all the time and not give you a chance to say something.
I'm Victoria Williams Watson. I'd like to thank you for all your support, my team for all their support. We're very excited. My mother looking down on us, I hope, and what we're trying to do and keep all the generational wealth in East Tampa especially. Thank you.
Board Member Hurtak and then Board Member Clendenin.
I just wanted to move the file to accept this proposal.
Second, that's what I was gonna do.
Oh, okay, perfect.
File number CRA 26-24444.
And that's, just to be clear, that's a motion to approve
To
staff
approve
to
the-
work,
Yes,
to work with the
motion to
developer for
approve
the
the $5
$5 million request.
All right, so we have a motion from Board Member Hurtak, a second from Board Member Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess I have to, formally, I have to ask any opposed. Oh, okay. All righty. Well,
Thank you. Thank you.
that's awesome. Ouch. All right, and item number 4, we received and filed, so now we're moving to, go ahead, Director McCray.
Good morning again, Cedric McCray, Tampa CRA
I mean,
Directors.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. So I know that there was some conversations during the setting of the agenda, so do we want to have the conversation related to the commercial grants, or?
What would be the pleasure of the board? Board Member Clendenin?
Well, I mean, we have Dee submitted the report on that. Is there anything, any further direction that you need other than just accepting her report?
Morning, Dee Reed, Economic Development Coordinator. Just the items that we talked about during the briefings that we would need you all to discuss and at least give us direction on. We don't have to get into the full presentation. Those items would be the community benefit value, just determining if you all wanted to utilize a percentage in relation to the community benefit to the total request amount. And then we also need to know from you all whether you want those applications presented by type or by district, and then your evaluation approach.
Well,
If you want me to go into details again, I can.
I mean, I think, is there any I think by type, I think we need to just evaluate them as you and I have discussed. Not necessarily by district, but by district, not necessarily by type, because you need to do it by, is that what we agreed to, by district?
Yes.
Because that's where the funding stream is, so I don't think there should be any disagreement about that, because it would be too chaotic to be comparing apples and oranges if we did it any other way. So would anybody disagree with that, by district? And what was the other issue that you had?
And then just determining how you wanted to apply value to the community the community benefit in relation to the total request amount.
You're gonna have to help me on that one, because I don't remember that conversation.
Board Member Hurtak?
I believe, right now, isn't there a percentage attached to the ones at the city?
don't. Are you
CBA?
familiar with that?
No,
rule?
okay, so yeah,
I don't
maybe a
believe
little
there's
more info.
percentage. Okay, so on that topic, I'll let our attorney kind of fill in or go over the items that we discussed in the briefings to kind of guide you for that discussion.
Shall we restate the question?
Sure. No. Well, I thought we were going to try to not go through it again, but
Yeah.
we discussed with all of you the concerns I had about the community benefits agreements.
Not the whole concerns, just when we were talking about how they need to determine the percentage of the value in relation to the request
Yeah.
amount, just
Well,
that piece.
Well, that was one of the concerns.
Okay.
So when we're talking about a project threshold, right now ours is 500,000. We had considered, and this whole thing started with trying to get our policy consistent with the city's policy, and that led to a deeper discussion of the issues that I personally feel are worth considering when it comes to CBAs generally. But regardless, whatever the threshold is, and as the number goes up, what do we want to establish a percentage or at least a benchmark so staff can evaluate when someone is proposing a specific project, whether it is significant enough in value to meet that requirement? Because as it sits right now, we have a requirement for a community benefit. We have discussions with various organizations that are in the community from which the money is coming to make up that agreement, but we don't have anything that would give guidance, for example, to staff to say, well, if it's $1 million, then they need to spend $100,000 on CBA, or 25 or 50 or some percentage. If it's whatever it is, it needs to be at least 5% or 10% or 15 or whatever. And so that's where it starts, recognizing, as I've discussed with staff, that some projects have inherent value that might reduce or negate altogether the requirement for a community benefits agreement, and others less so, and some might be sort of in between. So it wouldn't be, this is going to be it, and you have to meet the threshold every single time. Obviously, you guys are always kind of the last deciding factor about what it is and that is sufficient or insufficient, but it's a starting point so that when they're talking to the grant recipient or applicant, they can say, hey, this is what we typically have looked at before.
Board Member Clendenin and then Miranda.
Yeah, what I threw on my light is before you finished that discussion, your discussion, because that's exactly what was ringing in my ears, is that every project is so different, and there's certain intrinsic things about a project that may rise above and beyond, you know, what would be in a community benefits agreement. My gut tells me that this is, unfortunately, all of every one of these CRA projects are very unique and different generally. I mean, like what we just saw is something different than we've seen before. You know, whether we're dealing with a redevelopment of the Straz versus we're doing, you know, housing in East Tampa, or, you know, a baseball stadium in Drew Park. You know, they're all so very different. I don't know if it's even feasible to be able to pin it down with board policy, rather than just deferring to staff's expertise to work with the developer or the person who's applying, the applicant, to narrow it down and using their expertise to negotiate basically the best deal and have that deal presented to the board for their approval. I mean, I think that's what we have to trust our staff to be able to do.
Well, that's fine. What happens, again, and I'm speaking out of terms to some degree because this is really the staff who interacts with the applicants. But I can assure you that one of the most frequent questions they're going to get on these topics is, well, how much should we be spending? Or what kind of projects are you interested in, and so forth. And of course, that goes to the broader discussion of where's the money actually coming from versus where developers might say it's coming from.
Yeah, and I think I would just say for the staff is to get your best used car salesman on it and get the best deal we can.
Board Member Miranda, turn your mic on.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to knock it down to things that we could all understand. And really, we're talking about like a down payment on your house when you're buying a house. How much is somebody going to put in the kitty, and how much is the CRA going to put in the kitty to make the project feasible? That's what we're coming down to, correct?
It's a decent enough analogy. You know, as we've discussed in individual conversations, My concern, or one of my concerns, is that knowing that this is a requirement, and then the requests for the money on the front side is just gonna get larger proportionately, and the question is, how much larger?
Yeah, and that's very understandable, and we understand that, I believe. And also, it depends where you're building. The land cost is really now a greater portion of the total cost than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And if you start building now, no matter where you're at, and the land value is low, you better buy a lot of land, because you're building and you're gonna build against yourself, because the more you build, the more cost it's gonna cost you to buy the land next to it. So you better buy a lot of land now, even if you don't use it, because you're gonna save the public a lot of money.
Board Member Carlson?
Yeah, I think by the nature of 163, anything that we invest in as a CRA is a community benefit. And if we were going to require somebody to spend 5% on something else, I would rather just reduce the amount we're going to subsidize them by 5% and reinvest that money somewhere else. I mean, just as an example. But like the last project, if we required that, you heard them say they might have to come back to us and ask us for more money. The project that we have as a walk-on today, they're struggling to meet their numbers. And so on top of that, if we ask them to do something, it seems silly because they're barely going to be able to push their projects through, and the projects themselves have huge community benefit. And so I would rather just, instead of asking for, because anybody is going to, if you ask them to do something else, they're going to add it into the cost of it. It's going to mean that we're going to be putting in more money, and I'd rather put in less money and have us work on the benefit instead. The other thing on these grants, we've seen many cases where technically, legally, the administration is not involved in CRA, but we've seen many cases where the administration tried to slow walk the projects the community wanted and then fast-tracked the projects they wanted. And we need to make sure this is not a backdoor to do that. Somehow we have to stop them from doing it, because it's not just about us, it's the community is really upset by it. And we need to make sure that the community's projects are prioritized. Thank you.
Board Member Hurtak?
That's pretty much what I was going to say. I completely agree. If you just look at the last project, the community benefit to me is the grocery store and the 30 to 80% affordable housing. And I'm trying to think of a project that didn't already have that community benefit, because that's kind of what we're trying to do. So maybe what I might do is, if we really want to do this community benefit, is tack a much higher number to it. A project that would receive over $10 million. Because by that nature, the amount of money that they're going to have to come up with on their own is substantial enough that they're going to have those types of resources. And again, I agree. There's no way that they're just going to use the CRA money anyway. I mean, that's kind of just the nature of it. But I'm just thinking of a much higher threshold. That way, the Gasworks projects, the Ybor Harbor projects, the Stadium possible project, those are the ones that would really have to provide a CBA. Well, I mean, you brought it up.
No, it was him. I'm looking at him. It was, we have eye contact going across the
well,
board.
whatever. I'm just saying that when we're looking at the really, really expensive large projects, to think of it that way, is that possible?
You set the threshold.
Okay.
Let me throw out some, because trust me, there were times in discussions with myself and members of staff that people thought I had a third eye coming out of my head. But much of what I'm hearing from some of you echoes the same concerns that I expressed at the staff level. But there was pushback, and understandably so. One of the reasons that there was pushback is we don't have, as a CRA, at least currently, staff who can, as Mr. Clendenin suggested, do this money, or Mr. Carlson suggested, put this money aside and do it ourselves. And as I recall, the staff member who was unhappy about that, where am I supposed to get the people to do this? Where am I supposed to build the project and monitor the project and put together all that stuff? Whereas if you put it on a developer, even if it's using your money, you can require that, just like for the main project, you get credit for it. You can require that they are using the economies of scale from already doing something in the community of having contracts and so forth. So I want to be fair and say that that part of the debate was brought up by staff. I understand that part of the debate. I'm not gonna tell you they changed my mind, but it does give you something to consider.
Well, and that's kind of the point. I'm thinking, I mean, does anybody have a problem with just putting a much higher limit on it? Because I really believe that this is, yeah, I'm sorry.
I just want to, before you go too far into that, I want to just make it clear, and it didn't get discussed because we didn't do the presentation, but there's currently a CRA CBA and a city CBA. The CRA's current CBA is triggered at $500,000. So a part of whatever you decide today, I just want to make sure you're aware that a part of that process would be to repeal the CRA's CBA and remove the CRA from the city's CBA. So if we set that number higher, then you have those smaller projects that may be getting a large contribution that may not have a CBA. If we set that number and the project that comes forward already has a CBA, we have that latitude to not require additional things. We just point out, here are the components of this project that are serving or providing this community benefit. But at least if we have those projects that come and they have a significant impact to the community, but they're not providing a community benefit, then we have the ability to require it.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that you all are aware.
Thank you, but that's kind of what I'm saying, is that I really believe that a lot of the projects we're bringing forward do provide a community benefit, except for some of those larger projects. And then technically you could say that doing the infrastructure for gasworks is a community benefit. But really, I'm more interested in helping these, like we just saw earlier, the legacy projects to get through without having a community benefit, because really being a legacy project is a community benefit. I mean, having the money stay there, having the community, I mean, the fact that they're building a grocery store is just, icing. But to me, that's also a community benefit. That's also a community benefit. I don't know why my mic just went off. But anyway, so just, I don't know what you all think.
Board Member Clendenin?
Okay, so I think where we have to kind of wrap this up, because I know time is crazy. They're requesting two approvals. One, I think we should move to grant these applicants by district, and so it's one of the approvals. And the other would be to hear and then evaluate these processes that are evaluated by staff. So you evaluate them by staff, and then we decide on each as they're requested. Because again, there's too many. This is everything. All these projects are two apples and oranges. I mean, as Councilwoman Hertek just said, the grocery store versus this other every project is going to have to stand on its own, and we're going to have to depend. And I understand the staff maybe have some concerns about doing this themselves, but when you guys do evaluate, you guys negotiate these agreements and then bring it to us for final approval. I think that's the best way to do it. So we'll hear projects evaluated by staff and then negotiated by staff, and then decide as each one is presented. I think would be my motion to approve.
Okay, so we have one out of the two action items, which is a motion to have the present the structure of the applications by district from Board Member Clendenin, and the second from Board Member Hertek. Do we have any discussion at all?
And that's because of funding stream. Each one has its own independent funding stream, so you can't compare an application from East Tampa versus an application from Channelside, because the money is different.
Okay, so let's do a discussion for that motion. Board Member Carlson.
Yeah, just as you all are working on your criteria, I really am not in favor of projects above $10 million. The last project was a great example of a small project, and we know from all the research that we should have small projects instead of big projects. The administration is pushing big projects, and I don't think that's a good idea. Because it leads to gentrification, it leads to taking away neighborhoods and the community focus, and it also gives the public the perception that we're trying to benefit a handful of big developers. So I think if there is anything above 10 million, I think there ought to be transparency at the beginning. We need to know where the idea came from. It should be discussed by the board openly before it goes through a long process. It should not be that we would approve it at the end. We should know about it in the beginning. And ideally, there wouldn't be any projects like that because we can fund there's not much money in our accounts anyway, and we really shouldn't be funding those big projects. And the EDC project, for example, I think was only $9 million, but the whole thing in the end is going to be a big waste of money, and we shouldn't have funded a project like that. That was an example of one that was shoved through by the administration, which was a huge mistake. We could have funded 3 or 4 projects like the one we just saw instead, and it would have been much more beneficial to the community.
Thank you. Board Member Miranda, you have a comment on the motion?
Yeah, and I just want to simplify the whole thing again. When I look at this thing, the homeowner is the applicant applying to the CRA for the money, in this case, the developer. Then,
Point of order, y'all. We are talking about
the
simply the
motion.
district versus the grant type.
okay.
We are
Right.
not
Alright.
talking about the other one.
Right,
I'll
right.
And
wait
keep
till
in
later.
mind, this is all commercial, no residential, there's no home ownership, anything. This is strictly commercial grants.
So
Gotta
the
have
motion,
cash.
so the motion right now on the floor was the presentation structure to be by district. The motion was by Board Member Clendenin, second by Board Member Hurtak. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Because there's 2 action items right now. That's the first one. Okay, so all in favor of that motion? Any opposed? Okay, now we can move on to the next item, which is the board evaluation approach.
And again, just so.
And this is on the back of our packet, this is what we're looking at, it's on the back of your
So,
packet.
my motion was to hear these commercial grants, as Dee just appropriately said, that had been previously evaluated by staff, and then decide on each as requested. And just a reminder, I mean, remember, some of these are like, downtown, like the Straz, and, those types of things that could come up, so some of these are big projects. They're not always the East Tampa. We have unequal parts of CRAs, so trying to have one policy to apply to all these different types of CRAs. I think that's why it's so important for staff to evaluate these things based on that request and then present it to us for the final decision making.
So, can you restate your motion?
So
and
the CRA board will hear commercial grants that have been previously evaluated by staff and negotiated, if there's CBAs or whatever they need to do behind the scenes. And then the CRA board will decide them after the staff has evaluated them.
Okay, so we have a motion from Board Member Clendenin and a second from Board Member Maniscalco, Board Member Hurtak.
I think he had his line on.
Oh, no, he was just seconding. Okay.
No, I'm just listening right now.
Okay, Board Member
Okay,
Hurtak.
so what I think would be helpful is to probably put this slide up just on the Wolf.
Just the one slide?
Yeah, just because I think it kind of grounds people in the questions. Sometimes it's just literally the last page where we're making the decision, because sometimes this is a complicated thing. So what you're asking us to do for the board evaluation approach is to hear all requests, evaluate, and decide, or hear, evaluate, and decide. I cannot tell the difference between those two. So that's my question first. Can you explain the difference between the two things that look the same?
Okay.
So that we can make this decision.
Okay. So essentially, you're going to hear all of the applications per district at one time. So we're going to package, and I'm just going to pick up East Tampa.
Can you leave that up there, please? Sorry.
So say we're presenting East Tampa's applications, and we'll just start with special projects. If there are 5 applications that are submitted, and we're going to say the budget for that cycle is $5 million. We'll just throw that out. The question is, do you want us to present application 1, let you discuss it, take a vote, and then we present application 2? Or would you like for us to present all 5 applications, then you all get to discuss amongst yourselves, and then take the vote? Which
I
would
vote
suggest.
for item 2 on that.
Well, again, that's what I was going for, but having clarification that staff is evaluating these programs before they comes to us. So we can't be doing, 7 people can't be evaluating these things from the dais.
No, but if we're hearing them, we're evaluating the presentation, and then we're all debating among ourselves which of the 5 projects. I mean, I do think that's the most appropriate way to do it.
I think it aligns best with the goal that you all asked us.
Yeah.
You said you wanted it to be competitive, so if you
Yeah.
hear them all, you can discuss them against each other.
Yeah, because what she's saying is that, you know, the randomly chosen person 1 comes up and we choose to fund them, and then person 2 comes up and we're like, wow, that's a better project.
Right.
And we've already given the money to item 1. So if we hear 1 through 5, and then we can determine, I think that's the question, correct?
I just want, yeah.
Hold on, I want to give Board Member Carlson an opportunity to speak, and then, Board Member Clinton, I'll give it to you.
My thing is I think we need to have a dollar limit to this proposal, and I would say $5 million to this process, because if what you were talking about a minute ago, the only 2 CRAs which can really do it are the bigger amounts are downtown and Channel District, maybe Ybor, but the rest of if you put a $10 or $15 million project in East Tampa, it eats up all the money. So if there's a project above 5 million, we need to hear publicly what the proposal is in general before the staff goes through a long discussion. The other thing is that, and we talked about this in the grant review process, there has to be a set time period that's advertised in advance, like you're going to present them to us every 2 months or every quarter, because there were several examples recently where people were told that there's no money left in the CRA, and then we find out afterwards that the administration, the mayor's office, has a project that had been secretly funded, but we hadn't voted on it yet. And so we need to make sure that everybody is treated fairly, and that there's no attempt by the administration to hold out money for a special project. And so if it's quarterly, we can look at everybody or whatever time period, we can look at it during that time period and evaluate all the projects together, and then it's just fair because everybody knows what the time limit is. Otherwise, what will happen is that a bunch of independent applicants will put their proposal in, and then the administration will slide one in and say, okay, now we need to approve before anybody else has a chance. And it's not going to be fair, just like it hasn't been fair a lot in the past. Thank you.
Board Member Clinton?
Yeah, just for clarification, I mean, these grants do open and close, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have these timeframes. So you will, it's not like we're gonna get a first in, first out.
Correct.
We'll have a package presented to the board. So again, just to clarify, my motion is to hear and evaluate the applicants. Staff will evaluate all the applicants and all the applicant packages. How I perceive this is after this grant package closes, you are going to come before this board with all 5 or 10 or 150 packages, whatever you have, after you have evaluated all the packages, providing your recommendations, and then you'll present that to this board for consideration at one time. And that would be my motion.
Okay, can you, just for the record, could you state that one more time? And then I want, just so we have it correct, and then I want to be sure, Maniscalco, you still second it.
Just for clarification,
Yes.
concerning Councilman, our board member Carlson's issues, per our procedures, commercial applications will be received on the schedule set by the CRA staff, opening and closing dates. Those commercial applications will be evaluated by staff with recommendations. Staff will package those recommendations and submit it to the CRA board for evaluation and decision.
Yes.
Okay, do you still second that motion? Okay. Discussion, Board Member Hurtak?
This is why we should have not received and filed. If she had just been able to go through this, we would not have had to answer these questions over and over again, because that's what this whole report was. So I just want to say, please don't receive and file things when we have to make decisions like this, because it would have been much easier just to have gone through it.
Because just her memo, because she already submitted the memo.
But this is not the memo. This was the presentation she was supposed to give that you said not to give.
No, we just received and filed her memo.
No, but
That's that
you received and filed the presentation.
No, I did not.
Okay,
Let's correct the record. What I did is I received and filed her memo.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
So I just
do you
for
need
the-
any other direction from us?
Just want to repeat for the record to make
Mhm.
sure that we're clear. When it comes to the community, the CBA, this approval incorporates repealing the existing CRA CBA, removing the CRA from the city CBA, incorporating the community benefit in the grants, but to be discussed and negotiated by staff and then presented to the board. Correct? All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Magnifico.
All righty. Who said we were gonna be out of here by 12? Who did it? Every time we say this, we jinx ourselves. Every
Oh,
single.
here we go with your what year. We didn't say what
Every
year.
time.
We didn't say what year.
Oh, God, 12.
We have a lot more to talk about.
We
Are taking
do.
lunch?
You all want to take a lunch?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
an hour.
All right, so we are going to take an hour lunch. We will be back at 1:10 to finish items 5, 6, 7, and then 8, and then we have a walk-on. All right, so we'll be back at 1:10.
Gonna finish by 4?
Hopefully. Oh, my gosh.